The open public statement, please.
Sure. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Board of Health of the Township of Bedminster was sent to the Burnsville News in Burnsville and the Courier News in Bridgewater, New Jersey, and all subscribers, and posted at the Township Municipal Building on January 9th, 2017.
Thank you. We have carryover old business from the last meeting. This would be Block 62, Lot 25.7, David Willema. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
My name is Steve Parker. I'm with Parker Engineering. We've prepared the application for the board this evening. And just to kind of refresh memory, I don't think Mr. Chairman was here last time, but this is an application for single-family residence on Airport Road. There's no expansion proposed to the residence. There was a review letter from Ferrero Engineering that we went over the last time. So rather than re-review all that information, there's basically two items that the board requested at the last meeting that they wanted us to look at and present tonight. The first one was they wanted to have the disposal field size increased by 25%. So we made the changes to the septic system design plans, and we resubmitted those to the board and to Mr. Kaczynski's office. And the second item was the board wanted to see a letter from an environmental consultant demonstrating that there were no wetland or other environmental impacts in the area of the proposed septic field. That, I think, has also been provided to the board as well. So I can go into more detail, or we can, that was just basically what the board requested. And I understand there's a full agenda here tonight, so I don't want to overly belabor the application.
Well, I think there was more than that, but...
The definition of substantial.
Right.
Right, whether the property renovation and the definition of substantial.
Yeah. I thought we talked about the fact that this was clearly going to meet the definition of substantial improvement. There's no question about it. This is based upon the improvements that were made to the, or proposed to be made to the home. This meets the definition for that. We're not arguing that. And the house plans were presented to the board the last time as well. And again, showing that this was not going to be an increase in the number of bedrooms, although it would still meet the definition of substantial improvement to the home.
Right. So I think you oversimplified your opening statement. Certainly we'll consider the disposal size and the environmental impact. What are you concerned about? State waters, or what did you have researched for the environment?
They looked at the wetlands and
the wetlands,
areas,
okay,
and also flood hazard riparian buffers as well.
Okay, so we have those two issues, but then we need to get back to some of the other issues that still remain hinged to this application. Why, see if I can get do we have a review letter on this?
Yes, it's dated April 13th.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, as Mr. Parker indicated, the revised plans to address item number 6. And some of these other items were discussed at the meeting in May.
Okay. We're going to go to, this packet was mailed to me before, but I was not at the last meeting, so I did not carry it forward. Thank you, Allison. So Steve, you're addressing item number 6 from an April 13th letter, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, let's go into that first. Okay, and what you've done is increase the, you've increased it 25%.
That's
what you're
correct,
saying.
yes.
Okay. That's a good thing. Now, we were concerned about the wetlands, and you had a, what are you referencing as a support for that?
Yeah, comment number 8 in the review letter requested testimony must be provided regarding the presence or absence of areas regulated by the DEP. And so the applicant had Mr. John Peel of PK Environmental perform a site visit, and he prepared a letter dated June 5th, 2017. I believe that was submitted to the board. If the board doesn't have that, I can provide copies of that.
Well, I don't have a copy. And I'm not sure I'm going to accept it. Well, yes, we obviously need a copy of it, but
Okay.
I haven't seen it. We got our material ahead of the meeting.
I did receive a copy from Diane, so my office does have a copy.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, this is dated June 5th. Basically, Joe, what's it telling us? There's no wetlands, right?
There's no wetlands.
Okay.
Going to be affected, correct?
Okay, so that's number 6 and number 8. Now, the 25% increase in bed area is revised on the drawings?
It has been, yes. And those have been submitted to Mr. Kaczynski's office.
Okay. So those are out of the way, and now we need to go back to the application as we saw it last month. Since I wasn't here, I'm going to rely on my vice chairman, Chair Lady Allison. But I understand there's substantial improvement issues that really need to be looked at and are significant importance to this application.
Yeah, I understand. You know, the existing home on the property has very little value. So almost any work that's done to that home is going to be considered substantial improvement. It's been run down and abandoned for years. And so, as I said, therefore, anyone who does any kind of work to that home to really make it a habitable residence is going to be considered substantial improvement. The plans that were submitted with the application certainly demonstrate that what they're proposing out there is not an overbuild. They're not building a small mansion out there. It's a one-story ranch. The footprint of the when you look at the plans, the footprint of the house is actually looks like it's a big footprint increase, and it is, but it's only a one-story home, and it's really just in an attempt to modernize the home, bring it up to the current standards for today. So it's definitely considered substantial improvement.
Okay.
As I said, because I think almost any improvements to that house is going to.
So essentially, you're saying you're demolishing and then rebuilding?
No, we're not. Actually, the existing house is going to still stay there. They're just going to remove the roof, redo that, and then just add on to it. So the existing home is going to stay there. They're not knocking it down.
Yeah.
This is the original footprint. And
Okay.
This is the
But
proposed
it's only one
addition.
story.
Right.
And there's no increase in the number of bedrooms. It's
And
gonna
it was
stay
a
at the
two-story. and we're
This was
downgrading it to a one-story.
two-story, and they're not, they're supposed not to use a second story, but I don't know how you get restricted.
Not going to use the second story?
There is a second story on the existing building right now.
There
right?
is, yes.
Hey, is that going to be used or discontinued?
That's discontinued, and it's going to be a mechanical room. There's no stairs. If you look on the plan, going up, there's no stairs.
It's just gonna be like attic space.
Yeah, that's going to be like the air handlers for the air conditioning and all that.
Do you have drawings of this?
Yes, we have a full set of plans that are there. And there was a letter from the architect stating that it would be a substantial improvement. And what they were looking for in the last meeting was just a waiver from the council here to go ahead with the project. They said it would have to be a waiver if it was a substantial improvement.
Here it is.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So existing three-bedroom, it will remain a three-bedroom.
Yeah,
The upstairs will not be used except for utilities, and the downstairs will be expanded to compensate for the upstairs.
And a lot of the footprint area
Is there a garage there now?
that's on there, as you can see on the print, is a two-car garage so on that side.
Is there a garage on the property now?
Yes, it's attached to the house, which will be made into a dining room.
It's a one-car garage or a two-car?
A one-car that's attached to the home at this point.
I would assume that this is the garage area here.
I think accepting that as a substantial improvement just made us go to the higher
Correct.
expectation.
Exactly.
So that's why we just
Yeah.
wanted to document that before we gave the waiver. So
Sure.
that that's
Correct.
established.
We have to get the architect's letter.
Right, if lot necessity was increased by
And this is
right.
and the
trying to
wetlands
get
were-
an idea where this is.
Well, they weren't deleted, but there was a site.
The new garage.
Indicating that there weren't any there.
This is where they come in. This is here, right here.
Hmm.
That's the garage area here. And this is all new.
Yeah.
This is the original footprint.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. How many square feet?
I think it's going up to 3,000 or 3,100.
Yep. How many are in the present?
I believe it's 14 or 15. There's a letter from the architect there that states the square footage.
I think the position was 2,411.
Because I think.
Okay, the
number that-
existing,
Garage, our garage, 500 to 600 square
Yeah.
feet for that.
Existing 1,360, proposed 1,000. Proposed new area to the building, 1,600. Total 2,900 as opposed to 1,360. And the construction cost, as you said, is substantial.
Here, yeah, yours. Just you drop that on.
Okay,
And that's actually what they asked us for at the last meeting. That was that. And,
right, but as I pointed out in Steve's opening comment, as I look at it, it's much more than that. So we need to go back, and going to have to depend on Joe and Tim. Could you review that section of our ordinance which talks about building on a lot that is not, it's been a number of years since I've seen the,
Basically, just as an overview, the rule is similar to the rule that is associated with floodplain development. In that, with floodplain rules, you don't want to preclude someone from improving their house despite the fact that it may be deficient and lie within a regulated area or a floodplain. But as soon as you improve that development beyond 50% of the assessed value of that home, it's defined as a substantial improvement. And the EPA and DEP, they don't want you to do that. They don't want people building in the floodplain. Similarly, when you have a property that doesn't support subsurface disposal in accordance with all of the rules, the board many years ago passed an ordinance that required development on properties that are deficient to be limited so that a small, let's say, for example, 1,000-foot home couldn't be replaced with a 3,000-foot home and maintain simply the same number of bedrooms. So the definition that was utilized is promulgated from the floodplain rules, which is the definition of substantial improvement. So improvements can be made to a home, despite the fact that it's recognized that there's development on there now, there are problems with the lots. The subsurface conditions don't meet all the requirements of the code. You don't want to prevent people from improving their homes, but at the same time, you don't want a $10 million home with a $10 septic system.
Right.
So, in summary, that's the reason for the rule when it was created.
But
So-
Joe, in your description of this, you basically said, the 1,000 feet to 3,000 feet on a property that doesn't support septic that well. That was our township's ordinance. Then you have one federal and one EPA, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to express the rationale behind
Right.
trying to limit development on properties that aren't in full compliance with
Right.
state and local codes.
So-
That's what we have here.
The state had a code, the feds have a code, we had a code, and this is now up against those codes as to whether or not,
If this was a vacant lot, it would remain a vacant lot.
right, okay.
But there is a home on there, there's a 3-bedroom dwelling. They have a right to utilize that property for the 3-bedroom dwelling and reconstruct a septic system to serve that 3-bedroom dwelling. However, since the renovation that's proposed to this 3-bedroom dwelling is greater than 50% of the assessed value of this home, our ordinance requires, actually, our ordinance does not permit it. Bedminster's ordinance does not permit that to happen. So the only thing that the board can do is either waive that ordinance or enforce it.
Okay, and I was on the board when we did it, but it's, how many years ago? It was
And
probably 8 or 10 years ago, or longer than,
rationale is similar to any type of constrained area. It was really, promulgated for some of the definitions were borrowed from the floodplain rules. You don't want to tell someone they can't improve their house, but at the same time, it's in an area where it shouldn't be. So how do you regulate that?
okay.
That was the rationale for the
How
ordinance.
much square footage is on the second floor that's going to be eliminated?
That was 2 bedrooms. It was just 2 bedrooms. That
Just
was-
in terms of square feet, like I'm trying to figure out the new
In terms of
addition.
square feet, I would have to look at the plan, actually.
I'm just curious, because that's no longer square
Well,
footage.
yeah,
that's
but
now.
the total was what is on the thing. That included everything.
Yes,
That included the
including the
thing.
garage.
Right. Oh, so that's still, the new total 3,000 still includes that area on the second floor, that's just.
No, there is no second floor anymore. So
Right,
that
but if
would-
the attic-
But it does include the garage.
How much
Includes the
square
whole
foot will the
No, what I'm saying, this
house
was
be?
the original.
How what?
How many
with the
square foot would the
second
house
floor.
be?
I believe it's
But what I'm saying is
3,000
that
under.
Yeah, so,
And in today's
So how much?
world.
Well, minus the garage space, which is about 5 or 6
so
hundred.
basically, it's
So it would be about-
square footage is just
500
on
square
one,
feet of
on one different configuration.
It is-
Yes.
building.
No,
Yes,
the
There is
square
gonna
foot
be
goes
basic,
up.
And there is a slight increase.
Here's a,
But I don't think it's going over.
No, what I'm saying is that second, say
Goes
that
up.
second, the existing building is 1,390, right? So if the second.
See, we're
floor
starting
that's
with
now, say,
1,300,
500
we're up to
square feet, is the
3,000.
second floor, that's
That's
no
an
longer
increase.
Yeah.
part of the home.
2 bedrooms, a staircase.
Well, then the new home is not really.
I would have to, yeah.
It was 400, which
Right.
sounds better.
Now they just brought the, they just brought that upstairs.
well, do you have to include the mechanical area, square footage
No.
attic, or no?
If
It's going,
No,
That would be the
Side,
whole-
I think
I-
the focus on really what,
So that would
it's
be.
how much additional land area are you going to
How
encumber?
much land there is.
From
Okay.
here.
I think that's really the thing. to focus
The
on.
FAR.
Okay. Because if they're losing, what I'm saying is that they're losing 500 square feet from
Yeah,
that second floor, that's, they're no longer.
I would say the
using,
second
is now
floor
gonna
is
be
500 to
added.
600.
That's what I'm saying, so now this total, so that 1,390 of the existing building is really not
This
1,390.
this
minus
becomes
500.
critical, this becomes critical when you have a constrained lot that is undersized.
Right, but you're saying it doesn't matter square footage, it really just matters footprint.
From a practical
Well,
standpoint,
FAR.
there's only a certain amount of land area available here for subsurface disposal, and the lot's already constrained. So you don't want to further constrain the lot by placing a bunch of improvements on it. so that potentially in the future, you won't be able to, again,
Yes.
alter this system if you need to. So I think that's the thing, the key
But it-
thing to keep in mind.
But in the future, something could build up, and so you're
Well, what I'm
taking,
saying is they could redesign, in order to still use the lot, they could
Right.
make a smaller footprint and make it a setback to 2 stories.
2 stories
That's what I'm saying,
more.
but it's not,
Right.
we're
It would
limited.
probably be difficult for them to do and somehow prove that they're not going to put a bedroom.
Another bedroom in
well,
there.
well, exactly, they could say maybe it would be a family room, but
If we do look at the footprint in the plan, there is no room for another bedroom. If we look at the plan that was submitted, there is no room for an extra bedroom.
see, in the future, though, somebody could raise that roof. It's
But
not
that
your
would be
plan.
through that would have to go for permits, and then it would get knocked down. But I don't think we're trying to put this monstrosity up. We're trying to make this house livable and
Does that
have
exceed
2 car
the
garage,
FAR?
a laundry, a
I don't know.
mudroom. If you just look at the plans,
Have to ask
an
Joe.
existing 3-bedroom. And we were told that the septic was monitored by bedroom. If we have to make it a 2-bedroom, that would be one less kid.
Joe, the new structure, with all the structures, do they exceed the FAR?
I'm not aware of whether it conforms to zoning or not. I didn't do that evaluation.
Oh, that wouldn't be under our previous, we wouldn't rule on that anyway, but I'm just,
Yeah, but all the side and setbacks were all taken into consideration for the plans.
no, I'm talking the coverage of the land, being it's a limited piece of land, you can only put so much of a footprint on that
Okay,
land.
before I purchased the land, I spoke to the code enforcement officer, and I was told that we could put an 8,000 square foot house on that property.
It's a rather large lot.
It's 6 3/4 acres. It's not, there's plenty of land. It's not like it's a very undersized lot.
It's an irregularly shaped lot.
Looks like a straight line.
Okay. Tim, if we did a waiver, we'd be waivering our own ordinance, which I asked Joe to explain because it's been a number of years since we passed it, but we did pass it, and we did it just for this reason. And now we're asked to waiver it, which I think would take a lot of consideration of this board. I think it would take our reviewing what we did back then and comparing it to where we are now. I wouldn't take it lightly. It's our ordinance. And along with that, there are 2 other ordinances, one state, one federal, which we're toying with. And I see complication here that is far beyond increasing the treatment area and getting a wetlands.
What I can do is I'll say to everybody the ordinance that I'm pretty sure we're talking about. That's BH 6-3 D. And it is the replacement modification of existing structures. Any replacement or modification of an existing structure that meets the definition of substantial improvement, as described in subsection 13 that goes on, of the Township Land Management Ordinance, shall be required to have a septic system in compliance with the new construction standards of NJAC 7:9 A and the Township Health Code, unless otherwise approved by the Board of Health.
Right.
So now what you've done is you've set a policy standard.
Right.
When you have a substantial improvement, that the septic system is supposed to meet the new standards.
Right. But now,
Unless approved by the Board of Health. You did give yourself the latitude for certain things, and what you can do is condition any variation from that upon a number of things. You can say that it shall not be sold, or that any deed where you're selling it shall state that this is the septic presently in place can only service a 3-bedroom dwelling, that it can't be without other waivers or applications, cannot be used for anything greater than that. There are a number of things you can do, But you have to remember that, just as you say, your ordinance says what the standard is supposed to be, and it must have been for a
Plus,
purpose, and you have to be
we're putting a-
satisfied that any deviation from that has been adequately explained, that there is not going to be a hazard that was contemplated at the time that you decided to implement that ordinance.
And also, it's being done on a lot that could not be developed if there wasn't present. So,
Right.
so this, to me, is complicated. It's
It
probably...
is, and I think what the board has to do is listen to the applicant and what features have been designed into what they're proposing, and whether this is the best that can be done for this lot. Whether this is, are there other things, does the 25% increase, is that what is appropriate? Are there other, I think the last time that we were here, we talked about advanced treatment systems, whether that would be appropriate or not appropriate, or whether it's too cost prohibitive. And so what you can do is ask the questions of the applicant and the engineer, is this the best design that can be provided for this lot under all the constraints, under, I think it's your kids who are moving in?
Yes.
So understanding who it's being, this is not
This is not a resale item.
right, and this is not somebody who does not know what's going on. So these are all factors that can be considered. But you're 100% right that at the time the ordinance was adopted, it was there for a reason and to protect people, and you're just going to have to be satisfied that what is being proposed from an engineering standpoint, if it doesn't meet new standards, that it is as close to new standards as can be accomplished, given the fact that you have an existing structure and it's going to be occupied by the person who owns it now, the family of the person who owns it now. These are all policy considerations you can take into, or you can hold fast and say this is just the way these things have to go.
And I would say the property right now is a disgrace to the township, anybody who rides by there. And a lot of people do, to go to the airport. And this house, and there's one more down the street, is just decrepit.
That's not an issue.
So I guess the question is to Mr. Parker, the design that is being proposed now, what are the pros and what are the cons? How, and what would it, if it had to be, if the septic system had to be built to new specifications, it could not be done? Or could not be done?
Depending on whether you're speaking about the state or local codes. Right now, there is deficient permeability. Maybe you reiterate your testimony from May.
Yeah, we performed tests out on the property, and we didn't find any area that was suitable with suitable permeability. So it doesn't meet that doesn't meet the state or the local code in that regard. So what we did was, based upon the discussions at the prior meeting, we talked about things that we could do. One of them, I think we kind of came to the conclusion that increasing the size of the field by 25% was something that we could do to kind of offset the fact that there is no permeability out there. Certainly there's other things we could do. We could make it even bigger than that. You could increase that percentage even more. Advanced treatment is another option that could be considered for the field itself, to provide a higher level of treatment before the effluent goes out into the ground. But beyond that, I think those are probably the two other things we could do: make it even bigger or add advanced treatment to the system. I think in past, the way we arrived at the 25% was because we said in the past those are some of the things we have done in similar cases in Bedminster where there is no permeability in the soil out there. So I know that we're looking at this, and kind of the key element that we're looking at is the substantial improvement. If there was no improvements proposed to the house, that's the system that we have proposed is something that we would have used in the past and has been approved by this board in the past as well. That is the 25% over design. I think when you look at the house, and I think that you consider the substantial improvement ordinance, I think even just improving that house without increasing the footprint would still be considered substantial improvement. I think if you went in and just renovated the house as is, we would still be back before this board because it would be considered substantial improvement, because that's what poor condition that existing house is in right now. So I think the board should consider also, what we're proposing out here at this house. I don't think, when you look at the square footage and the house plans that have been submitted, this is not an overly large home. It's not out of character with the area. It's not a gigantic home. I think the numbers that were thrown around included, the garage space. So when you actually look at the livable space in the house, it's going to be about 2,400 square feet. I think that's the number we talked about the last time. And again, I don't think we're not overbuilding the property itself. I don't think that it's something I don't think it's something that the ordinance was intended to prevent or to preclude from happening. I think this is just an improvement to an existing decrepit house. Is really all it is. I don't think we're looking to build a bigger, grander home than the property can support. Like Joe said, if there wasn't a house on there, we wouldn't even be here because it doesn't meet the requirements. But there is, and so I think we're just looking to improve what's there and improve the septic system that's there by building a new one over what's out there in front of the yard right now. So.
I think we brought up the last time too whether there's a different design for the septic system that might be, might be better.
Well, certainly the board can, advanced treatment systems, the board has approved those in the past, different kinds. That is an option here as well. That's something that, we could add into the system again. If that's something that the board thinks would add a higher level of assurance, then we could certainly do that. But again, there is no increase in the number of bedrooms out here. It's a 3-bedroom home. It's going to be a 3-bedroom home. And I think the plans that have been submitted demonstrate that it's not, it's not an overly large home where you're going to get a lot of people living in there, jammed into 3 bedrooms. But yeah, that's certainly something the board can consider.
Well, I think we should,
Is there a dormer over in the new section?
No.
Drawing sort of,
Is it cathedral ceiling?
It's not vaulted, no.
well, the drawing sort of implies there's a dormer.
Oh, there's a dorm, there's like windows over the garage. That's what you're looking at.
There's a dormer too. Right?
Yeah, I don't have the full set. I don't have the elevation here. But the elevation does show just a window over the garage.
Right.
There's no stairs, there's no anything going up to any loft or any area. It's just really we're looking for a craftsman style home that, kind of fits with the area there, and those type of windows just really accent. Nothing above the bed. There is no dormer.
Well, I'm just saying the drawing does show.
Yeah, it's above the garage.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, actually, it's not a, this is the, I'm trying to figure out what the garage is.
There is one over the dining room also. And there's a peak. We had an issue with the front door area. Somebody thought that there was a room there. But it was mainly, it's just the entranceway coming in there.
If you look, this is the garage.
Steps to the basement or steps?
No, that's probably.
okay. Steve,
He just said there's no
Second
steps.
floor.
Right.
If these steps go up to the
Well, they
second.
go up to the mechanical room, I would assume.
No, but he testified that there's no
Like I said, if
steps.
you guys review the plan, there is no place to put a bed.
He just testified.
No,
there's no
it's not the way.
stairs. Here's the stairs right here.
Well, you have stairs to the mechanical area, correct? You have to.
Nope, there is none there. There's stairs
Can
going
you
down
come
to the
just
new
come up and
basement
look at
area.
it, since you don't have the.
Well, it says new stairs as required by code, verify floor, first floor to second floor dimension.
And that's on sheet, which, let's take a look, just to keep it.
A-
I think it's A1, or
A4.
A4, I'm
That's
sorry.
to the basement.
Oh, to the basement, that's what I
Basement.
asked. Yeah.
New basement area, okay, front door area.
Yeah.
Dining, that's got a peak roof coming off the dormer, and you have a dormer, not a dormer, but you have windows up above.
Yeah, but see, this is the one I'm talking about.
That's above the garage.
And that's a dormer above the garage.
Well, it's actually just a window light, I guess you would call it.
Well, you got a window here,
Yeah, there's gonna be no flooring under here.
It's just it's like a bump.
so that's gonna be solid
Yeah.
up to the, it's gonna be
It's like a
cathedral up to that?
cosmetic-
There'll be no floor.
Yeah.
No floor.
Okay.
This is the decorative. There's a lot of those in there on the house.
And as you can see, you have master bedroom,
Yeah.
bedroom, and then living room, kitchen, a pantry, dining room.
There's a dormer, but he says no floor, that's over the garage.
This is on A5.
But
we're
no,
looking at-
no floor area on A5, there's the dormer. A4 shows the stairway, which he says is to the basement.
To the basement, yes, that's the new basement stairs. Right now, the existing basement stairs are about here
Okay.
to go down, and then you had on the other side going up to, here's the existing.
Let me ask you, how do you get to the mechanical room?
That's gonna be above where the bedrooms were.
Is it a pull-down ladder?
I don't know what he had drawn on here. I think it was one of them little boxes.
How do they get the units up there?
They're gonna put them up ahead of time.
Yeah.
And what if you have a repair?
I'm not sure.
There's going to be a
Cut a hole in the
or
roof.
something, but you can't pass inspection unless the electrical inspector can get to that.
Can
So
get
there's
to
going
that.
to be some kind of pull-down step, some kind of
It's not gonna be pulled down steps.
crawl
I'm sure of
space
that.
or something. They have to get in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, they can't seal it up.
I'm not sure where he's going with that.
No, so Mr. Fisher, if this,
Otherwise, it's just, this is all gonna be vaulted here, this whole area here, and then that was gonna be the mechanical room.
if the,
And not the same mechanical,
if the,
the air handler.
if the renovation was different.
That's what that
and
window
didn't
is?
cover as much
No,
square
no,
footage
that's
of the
hard.
lot,
No, no,
would
that's
it
it
still be
there.
a problem because of those?
This is where the mechanical.
It would still be
It just
substantial.
goes,
Like, if the property's decrepit and I'm just
Oh,
asking
yeah.
for myself, if it's basically an abandoned, condemned building, and you're replacing it, then anything you do, regardless of what the footprint is going to be, is substantial. So the point is, it's a.
Okay, I see. Dormer shown on A6, it's better.
And they went back and did like a 2-story.
I think so. It's,
Better for you?
It'd still be substantial.
Still be substantial.
So we gotta like let that
Right.
go.
Property.
Yeah.
But I'm saying.
There's
is
no
that-
heating system, there's no plumbing system,
Right.
everything is
But
gone. out
of course, like I think we got that point
Yeah.
that that's out, that's
Yeah.
gone.
It's like a condemned
Yeah.
building.
So, but you'd still have to make the upgrade.
do you have a photograph of this building?
I do not.
Oh, excuse me.
In the past, what
There's
has
a
the township
barn.
done with
We-
buildings that weren't like, so old and.
We haven't had many of them, Allison. We just haven't encountered them. And the reason for developing this ordinance in our Bedminster ordinance, as Joe explained.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I
And
just
I-
was wondering if you had any in the past. that
No,
used
no,
them.
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
We had one,
I don't remember.
we had one on Rattlesnake Ridge Road, but the footprint did change for the,
Yeah, but that's gonna be years now. I
no,
don't-
that was after this,
It was after this?
Rattlesnake Ridge Road. Remember, because it was an issue with the money,
See,
but
that's where the two bedrooms
all it
were.
was an
There's-
improvement of the existing structure,
Yeah.
footprint or room sizes, and that did not change.
Okay, I don't remember it.
Good. Do you, is anyone living in this?
No. It's been vacant for quite some time.
Like 5 years, 2 years?
It might have been a little more than that.
9 years?
Time?
Yeah. You have that. And still, the whole structure is sound. It's just the the outside, and that's what I'm saying, it's just in town.
Do you own the property, sir?
Yes, sir.
Do you have another dwelling on the same property?
No.
Adjacent property with?
No, there's a barn that's toward the back. No, I don't have another property.
Are you gonna rehab?
I live in Totowa, New Jersey.
Place.
There's a barn on the property.
Any plans to rehab the barn?
Removing the septic
Actually,
and all.
it just needs cosmetic and maybe a new metal roof.
Is there water in the
There's
barn?
there's no concrete floor, it's all dirt, there was some
No plans to put
chicken.
water or?
If we approve him with
No,
waivers,
no.
though, do we set a precedence against the existing?
I know that would be against.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, because the next person that comes in and says,
You'd blow everything out.
you sort of
I know,
like between a rock and a hard
it's
place.
behind there is a barn back there.
Yep.
I think that would be a stipulation as well, that
This is,
not be able to develop the barn.
Okay. I think we should review the individual board members, but at this point in time, and I'll start, and then we can just bring it across the dais here. I am very reluctant to take an ordinance which we formulated 10 years ago and to, trying to think of a good word except trash it, because I think we're coming pretty close to trashing it. This is what we had in mind. At the same time, the land is not supporting septic systems, so that if you folks did anything to move it in a more in a direction that's more acceptable to us, I would think you may want to consider advanced technology for the septic, which would free us up from some of the obligation we put in the original ordinance saying, no, you can't take. That's why we developed the ordinance. You just can't expand on property that doesn't sustain septic well and build out. At the same time, we probably should review the ordinance, but that's a separate matter and has nothing. We always should review our ordinances. This should be a continuing thing, but I'm not at this point ready to, and I can't think of another word than to trash the ordinance. So,
but Mr. Fisher, I think you really need that ordinance in place to do what it's supposed to do. But we're taking a 3-bedroom home and continuing a 3-bedroom home that had a septic. So if I just renovated that house the way it is, we're still gonna need a waiver. And I do own the home, I own the property. There's an existing house that's on it that was never condemned. So how am I not able to continue keeping that a 3-bedroom home?
we'd love to see that home made into something like your drawings indicate. I mean, it would be great for Bedminster. It would be
And at the last
good.
meeting that you didn't.
I'm not denying that.
Okay, but the last meeting that you weren't here, the board was willing to give me the waiver
Well,
to go ahead with this project.
No, we did not say
We
that.
said we wanted more information and everything.
Yes, and it was the information I did give you from the wetlands consultant and from the architect on what the square footage was. And they were the two holdups that I was being told that we needed. But the board was willing at that point. I know it was 2.5 months ago, but you did discuss about whether you were going to give me the waiver that evening.
I don't recall that. I know we had asked for this additional information
Okay.
to be part of the application. In other words, we were saying we did not have enough information to make a
And I
judgment.
did give you the information.
Okay, you gave us, but we didn't say anything about, we were, well, I didn't express it. I don't know if
Here, I
anybody
can
else.
read you from the minutes. It says, Mr. Davis expressed concern there was not enough documentation received to make a decision regarding waivers or final approval. That was taken from the minutes. So, you know, the thing is, this is the problem, you know, when you look at it and you say, okay, it's only a 2,400 square foot house on a 6-acre lot, it doesn't sound like in the spirit of the ordinance that was, you know, where you're not putting an 8,000 square foot house on a 6-acre lot. So I understand both sides. You know, I understand what you're saying, but in the end, this is only a 2,400 square foot house. I wonder if the house was condemned, would it be a different issue?
No.
Then it would be new construction.
And it
And it wouldn't be able to
Little
do.
station.
I guess my problem is,
But it wasn't.
Right, I know.
that includes
Trying to get
both,
around to-
that includes all the living area now. And this includes a new,
Because I think the
and their
spirit was
total,
that you don't want
but
to
shouldn't you subtract out the 2 bedrooms
I don't know,
upstairs?
that's why I was asking
come up
about
with the new square
versus
footage?
the lot coverage. Like the total square footage of the house now is whatever it is, and the new square footage.
That's what I
is whatever
tried
it is
to
on the
ask,
second
you know.
floor and all that. But the bottom line is the money is the thing that's driving, right? The cost of the renovation is the thing that's driving the ordinance, right? This is the definition of.
Why don't you ask,
Yeah.
That's the mechanism.
Who should I ask,
to
Joe?
include
Joe.
This type of redevelopment
Right.
happening. So that's just the mechanism, but, you know, it's the size of the lot itself, excuse me, is certainly pertinent to the discussion.
Right.
Because if this was only a half-acre lot, I don't think the board would even be debating this.
No, it's because it's a 6-acre lot.
Joe, I have a question, and this is on the square footage. It says existing building area 1,360 square feet. That includes both floors right now, correct?
Yeah, that's what I asked before, including the 500 square feet that's no longer going to be part of the 12.
Now, and then the proposed new building is 1,600. Now, they've added them up to get to 2,960. And I'm just saying, shouldn't the second floor of the existing building, if it's not going to be used, be subtracted out of the
That's
square
why I said it's only
footage?
2,400 square feet.
I believe the architect did subtract that.
So this 1,360 doesn't include the second floor?
No, when he totaled it, I believe he subtracted.
No, he just totaled the two.
It says existing building. so
He just said existing building
Existing building
1,360,
pre-renovation or existing building post-renovation.
and then and then new building 1,600, so he come up with 2,960.
There's a cursory review of the plan view on sheet 2, you know, it suggests that the addition is about twice the size of the existing building. So those numbers are just
That
correct.
would be.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, the square footage of living area is your living area. It's the first and second floor, correct?
Yes, it should be first and second.
Yeah, that's what I was
floor.
asking before.
And
About
all
the
I'm,
500
I'm
square
not,
feet.
all I'm saying is, if you're gonna do away with that, don't you subtract that? In other words, when he comes up with a total building area, shouldn't the upstairs area on the existing house that is not going to be used for living area, just like an attic, be subtracted out of that total?
If it's not livable space, I would believe it should be.
Well, then I guess I'm wondering,
That's what I'm saying, it's really 2,400 square feet,
well, we don't know.
maybe.
Yeah, I agree with your point. I can't answer that question. I don't know.
Because you're
I
predicating
can't even
your,
let you know, come up with that figure and the letter. I didn't go and figure the square footage of the plan.
that wouldn't affect your septic system.
And it wouldn't affect the
That's not
substantial
gonna
improvement,
affect
you
the
know,
Substantial improvement.
waiver.
It's the money issue,
Right.
that's the definition of substantial improvement
Right.
in this particular situation. It's not reducing the lot coverage to make a different plan of the house or anything else.
Right.
So it's either a yes or a no.
Correct.
And you
But
can-
instead of adding 1,600 square foot, you might be only adding 1,300 square foot.
It doesn't
Or
matter.
12.
Because the
Well,
money-
I'm just saying, if there seems to be a hang up on that, too.
Renovation is the driving force.
Right.
Exactly, so either you have to.
I think what you're just saying,
Yeah.
if you look at this in a practical way.
Practical way, right.
Does this do violence to the ordinance if really all you're doing is, you know, practically expanding this to a certain percentage and you could take that out? I don't know whether it matters or not, but that's, I know what you're saying.
I don't know, that's
This
what
is
I'm asking.
just for your consideration, your ease, if you're going to waive it.
Kind of changing the whole configuration.
consideration, that's all.
Right.
No, well, no, you're not, you're,
Well,
you're,
but yeah, but, you know, if you take the money part out, you are. Well, what I'm saying is that if that 1390 doesn't include the second floor, right? So then the existing house is 1,800 square feet against 3,000 square feet, against 2,900 square feet. If it does include the second floor, then it really should be out of the calculation, which means that it's 2,400 square feet on a 6-acre lot. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, I wasn't here for the ordinance, so I don't know what the spirit of the ordinance was. Was it to keep someone from building a 24? If they put assisted septic with a pre-treatment tank and all that on a 6-acre lot with a 2,400 square foot house, I don't know, because I don't have the benefit of being here when they passed the ordinance.
The septic includes 450 yards of sand. 450 yards of sand for a 3-bedroom home. It's way overbuilt, 3
think it
tanks.
should be
The
clarified,
10-acre does
Just-
have to have the third
I
tank.
still think it should
So
be
you have 2
clarified.
tanks,
Yeah.
plus a third tank, plus
Build
450
area
yards of
isn't
sand for a 3-bedroom dwelling.
Was,
That is, like Steve could say, is 25% over the norm. So why is that going to be an issue? I'm willing to put, like you said, I'll put 50% more.
Because it still doesn't affect the ordinance, that's the problem.
No, it's your waiver. That's what you were all talking about
The,
in the last meeting.
Allison,
It was
the,
all about. It was about the waiver on the money and on making a nice home on Airport Road instead of what I just showed you people.
the ordinance was done in the spirit of environmental, more environmental concern, Allison.
The ordinance was put in place to stop people from putting in a $10 septic on a $5 million home.
not really.
No,
No.
no,
I don't think I'm.
no, that's no.
Building a lot. That would have no bearing, really. Because we would be looking at the size of the system to the size of the home, no matter what, so.
Yeah, no matter what.
No matter what. That's the problem.
I'm trying to think back 10 years ago, Allison, when we did that, and we were feeling that if the lot was inadequate to begin with, expanding the facilities and increasing the size would be overusing the land. I think it comes down to something like that, and I really,
You have to stay within the same square footage.
well, I'm not sure specifically you need to stay within every square foot, but, you always you need to contain
That's why I think.
the expansion.
When the ordinance was considered, one of the discussions was to recognize that the state sizes septic systems based on the number of bedrooms. So you could have a 1,000 square foot 3-bedroom home, or you could potentially have a 10,000 square foot 3-bedroom home. And that's the loophole in the ordinance. So the ordinance, or that's the loophole in the code, based on the number of bedrooms.
Or in
Except
this
it does affect the price.
You could have a 1,300 square foot home that's done in Italian marble, that
I was
costs
just-
you $4 million.
I was just about to offer this, yes, you could put the gold fixtures in this sufficient home and would meet the definition of substantial improvement.
Right.
It's just the mechanism, and every application is different, it's the trigger to preclude, a very large home, with a small number of bedrooms going on a lot that can't. So that's why.
Well, that's it. That's
Right.
what I just said.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's necessarily trashing the ordinance because
Well,
in the spirit of it, what it was written to do. Right.
And in the spirit of time, everything, we got to think about increase of materials and products. And we have to think about, are we going to restrict a buyer and a resident on wanting to put Italian marble in, or wanting to put in a nicer quality
No.
bathroom, or a high-end kitchen?
And that's why the board
Right.
reserves the
Yeah.
right to waive.
Right.
the
Right,
ordinance
as long
because
as,
Right.
right, as long as
Right.
that septic system can support,
That
if they need a
house.
grease trap, then they
Yeah.
do, if they want to be cooking greasy things, but, we have to, we got.
Exactly.
The other thing it does, where it affects you is the next time an application comes in,
Mm-hmm.
you have set up, and I'm not saying for bad or worse,
We
you set
need
a
to.
precedent
I mean,
So
we might need.
you gotta consider
like
the future also.
Right, I mean, we have to factor all that in too, and if it's 10 years old, we might need to revise it. Yeah, that's what I'm.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. It's almost like I'd like to go into closed session and discuss the ordinance. It's a legal matter, but I can't do it tonight, but we need to go back and look at that ordinance. But as long as it's in place, if we waiver it, it's not looking good for us.
But what were you thinking about the policy statement that you can just
I mean-
say, yeah.
The ordinance as it's written does give the board a certain amount of discretion to waive it, but you are setting a standard by which the applicant has to prove to you that what is being proposed doesn't do violence to the policy that you tried to establish. And that's, you look at this on a case-by-case basis, because that is how the ordinance is actually written. The policy is that it has to meet what would be satisfactory for a new dwelling, right?
Yeah, but
You can look
that
at
wouldn't
this-
be allowed.
It wouldn't be allowed at all. So this is why the ordinance says is unless otherwise approved by the Board of Health. So it gives you the latitude to decide in this particular set of circumstances, is it appropriate to waive it so that you have a home that otherwise is never going to be occupied, become occupied. And you have to be satisfied from what Mr. Parker says that what they are advancing is the best that can be done. And if you're not satisfied with the best that can be done, then Mr. Parker has to say, well, this is what else we can do. That would still make it a feasible proposal without making it a showcase that doesn't serve any purpose. If you're satisfied that 25% overbuilt or 50% overbuilt wouldn't do violence to the ordinance, you can agree to that. But you're under no obligation to waive this at all. You are looking at a particular application, a particular property, and deciding whether or not it is satisfactory to the board to approve this system, even though it does not meet that ordinance now. So it's the only thing I can tell you is that the ordinance itself gives some discretion, but it has to be carefully, you have to be satisfied that what the applicant is proposing is not deliberately trying to undermine the purpose of the ordinance, and that they proposed a solution or a system that is a substantial improvement to what's there now, and doesn't do violence to the purpose of the ordinance. And that's unfortunately what you have to figure out, is what was the purpose of the ordinance, and does approving anything other than something that can't be achieved, does that undermine the board's position?
Well, again, we'd all be very happy to see improvements to that structure. And what you're proposing is certainly going in the right direction. I'm just worried about the ordinance and the legality of it.
Let me ask you a question. Are you worried that this system, the way it's presented now, is not going to be safe for the environment? I mean,
If the lot were vacant, basically we would not allow a residence to be built on it. We'd say, no, the lot wouldn't
because it's
support
not-
it. Right.
It wouldn't support it.
So now we have a house that's been vacant for about 5 years. It's a 3-bedroom house, and we're proposing to alter the septic system and make it usable for that 3-bedroom house, plus expand it, make it much more.
But the system, there was
Desirable.
a septic system there which was working for the old.
Well, I don't know that. We don't have history on that.
And it's 9 years abandoned.
It's 9 years?
9 years.
Okay, I wasn't aware of
There's
that.
a septic system out there now, and it's shown, in fact, on the plans that we saw.
Right, I'm sure the septic system, but not tested, or we'd have no, we don't
Well,
know.
I think as part of the improvements to the property, the applicant just wants to make the septic system better. The one that's out there now is far worse than what's being proposed. It's a lot further away from what the code would require, whereas the system that's being proposed is certainly an upgrade and getting the system closer to the code than what's out there now.
What do you think, Allison?
You know, I think the last time we talked about this, it was, there were a lot of things that were unclear, and these people are very nice and all that, and I think, it's a dilemma because I don't have a problem with 2,400 square feet on a 6-acre lot. I understand the spirit of the ordinance. By the same token, the ordinance, I think, may need a little tweaking, in terms of how much money things cost now and how much, what is substantial improvement, like, besides money. Like in terms of definition of substantial improvement, because if you can replace a kitchen, and it could be $100,000 just for a kitchen, and a practically abandoned, an abandoned, practically condemned, not legally condemned, but practically uninhabitable property, that someone owns on 6 acres, I'd like to see us be able to approve it. I don't know what we would have to do, in this particular instance to make it more palatable, and so that the next person doesn't come and say, well, you did that one, how come you didn't do this one? And I guess, I don't know, it would be, although it would be a big expense to send the people back to reduce the footprint, or to, to put an assisted septic plan in addition to the plan that was already developed, like a pre-treatment or something in terms of protecting the future owners and this owner, I don't know. As opposed to just leaving the abandoned house there, because the problem is I don't think anybody would invest the money to fix the house, the amount of money that it would need to fix the house in the situation that it is now, right? With the,
No, whatever they do is substantial according to this ordinance, so it doesn't.
So I can see both sides. I don't know, Mr. Fisher, is there anything that you could think of that would make this more palatable for this individual who already owns the property?
Right.
And,
Well, I think-
is not inhabitable?
I think we can ease the, what I consider an affront on the ordinance by bringing in advanced treatment. Not that it needs to be some form of advanced treatment. And you're good at that, Steve. You've done a lot of it. Plus, having something from Tim that would support our ordinance, but yet provide a firm reason to, allow a waiver. So those two things. And they don't jump into my mind, and I don't know what you could do for advanced treatment. So I'm just stuck at those points. That would drive me forward to say, I think we may be working our way out of this.
I just think it's not fair to tell people how much money they can spend inside their home. That's the problem I have with the substantial improvement definition. If they want to put Italian marble, this gentleman owns the property, he should be able, he can spend $500,000 on Italian marble, or it
Right.
shouldn't have anything to do with the septic system.
Exactly.
So
I think,
if the septic system is good, the way it is, the way it was designed, then the cost of what's in the interior is really none of our business. That's the problem that I have.
With that cost issue.
Right.
Because there's probably, I don't know what percent in the township, the house is built as a shell for $500,000, and then within the next 5 years, the homeowners go in, gut the kitchen, gut every bathroom, and now you have this issue. We just don't know, but the issue's there. It's been substantially improved.
And there's plenty of cottages on 6 acres that are $2 million.
Right.
That's in this town.
Right.
And
And so-
that's the part that I have a problem with, and I want to help you.
Right.
Like it's
Be
not
careful
just.
with the fact of money.
So we should really consider tweaking the ordinance to get some of the dollar value out of there, maintain
To have other
a square
other
footage.
parameters,
Right.
additional
Different
parameters that
yes.
give us a little bit more leeway.
Protect the bedrooms, protect the
The things that
The
are
square
important.
footage.
square footage. All right.
But is there something we can do to move this forward?
But not only look at the money.
Right.
You see, the other issue was, and I'm gonna give you a number, but I think when this ordinance was, where someone could come in, rip a house down, buy it for 200, it's accessory, put a house up, and you don't have it has a substandard septic system, but then you turn around and sell it for $2 million. How do you, and then people that buy for $2 million come to the Board of Health and say, well, you approved this
Well,
thing.
that
and
document
this-
should be attached to the
Right.
deed. Like when they do a deed, a title search on this property,
Right, there should be documentation attached that these are the restrictions on the property.
That
That's
is
not-
what this
right.
ordinance would allow you to do, is that
Right.
this is
they
a
can't
property
fix up
owner
the
who
barn,
wants,
they can't add water to the barn.
Right.
They can't develop the barn.
wants to be able to build.
There are a couple other issues that we, that got
And I
seen
think
from
is willing
ground.
to
There are a couple other
accommodate what
issues
the
that
board
Before we even go
feels
to this,
is
we should
necessary
find out
to
what
give
their-
it a comfort.
They may put a
So I don't think there's going to be much
like
of a
this
problem
one.
here.
I don't think you.
And I think
And the only-
tweaking the ordinance is gonna take
What
too much
season?
time.
Well, tweaking the ordinance is not going to help.
That's not
It's going to be,
So-
the
Yeah.
time issue is going to be
Right.
the problem for
Yeah.
this applicant. I think the way the ordinance
Yeah.
reads now
I agree.
gives the board
Right.
the leeway to decide that if a satisfactory application is presented under the particular circumstances, that it can
Right.
waive.
I mean-
But it's got to be that you're satisfied that what is being proposed is as close to what can be achieved.
It basically
I'm
caps
not
the
making it-
development of the property.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason why this property needs substantial improvement is because it's uninhabitable. So that's a different,
No.
Right.
Well,
Is that what they're
Actually,
saying?
It is different, you can't tie that in
could have
that
been.
way. You have to.
It has an assessed it goes on the assessed evaluation of the
Okay.
property.
And what was the assessed evaluation of the property?
I believe the dwelling was 135 and the property was, I think somewhere around 4.
So you have 6 acres, that's.
So that's
just
about,
pretty wicked that everybody is
Yeah.
saying you can develop and do so much
so
with
it's
it,
about a
but
$500 total
It
Yeah,
assessment?
is
that's
irregularly
what it
shaped,
was.
you may not be able to do a lot with it for
Right.
one, but then,
Well, the
just
question
like
is,
the board
when
would
you
be happy
figure
with what you're
the
proposing, you'd
assessed
have to be
evaluation, you just
that
figure the
property,
house or
you
the
and the
property
future
itself?
people
Saying
have to be
135
happy with what it
And
gets
four
out there.
hundred.
400
So it
was
makes
Think
it
that's
five.
because
So
you
this
can't,
is two.
there is no other,
That's not
you can't
50%.
support anything,
This is what I'm saying.
anything further
What
because
can
of
you
the septic
do?
Correct.
system.
You know what's something to consider?
Right.
Is the particulars of this application. The direction that they're putting the addition on the house is in the same direction where they're going to locate the well. So you would never put a future septic system in that side yard anyway. So it's really not covering
there's a lot.
any of the rest of the usable lot space. And that's just one of the particulars of this
The
application.
assessed evaluation,
Circumstances are very
when you figure this, do you figure the
something you
land
consider.
and the house, the total property,
And
the
when I
assessed
say
evaluation?
development, cap it, I
Mhm.
mean.
Well, then this is not
cottages,
50%.
schoolhouses,
If he said
running
about
water,
400,000
redoing the barn,
for the
adding
house,
another
for the
barn,
land and
expanding the barn,
130 for the
building up,
house.
adding more bedrooms.
Hmm.
Is this renovation more than $250,000?
200,
It
it
was
says.
just under.
Estimate that too.
So then that's not 50.
Joe, let me ask you something. Now, when we say
Yeah.
50% of the assessed valuation, is that total property,
No, that's not total property, that is just.
just the dwelling? Okay, okay.
So there's no way, like you said, a kitchen's $100,000 over. Went in there and put a kitchen in it, you're over. It had no heat, it had heating system, but whole delinquent. The well has been capped, they had no record of it. The well was right next to the foundation, that's already been capped. Guy spent the money and did that, and we have to drill a new well. Because I didn't even want to, try using.
Does the new well drill included in the $200,000?
I believe so, yes.
Does substantial improvement include improvement to the property or improvement just to the property?
What's to build the house?
Just the building.
Yeah, I don't think that
You're
we
trying
should
all these other
dictate
things,
what-
but I know, but I think you have enough
Right.
to I think
But what I don't want to
You
do
can't
is
get out of
dictate.
substantial improvement. There's no
One way or
way.
another.
Yeah.
It's-
What I don't want to do is dictate.
I don't even want to
what
have
kind
you
of quality
try.
of-
Right,
what kind of
yeah.
quality
Well, we're not.
home you want to build
No.
inside there.
We're not doing that. We're just
Well,
trying
that's not the
to.
point. I mean, they could go in and do everything with IKEA, and then after it's built, rip everything out. and-
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not,
but
that's not the idea.
Exactly, we don't want to do that, that's
I
not
think you
right.
have to look at
Right.
this case as the individual
Yeah.
case that's different. And I don't feel that you're trashing the ordinance. If you-
No, I don't either, I think we're just caught in it right now, that's all. I don't think we're.
And then we'll have to go back.
Well, I think we need to consider the ordinance. I mean, we passed it 10 years ago, and it suddenly
Yeah.
shows up 10 years later,
Yeah,
and we-
and bam,
things have
we've
changed.
got it.
Yeah.
But when we pass it for
Yeah.
good reasons, we're
Right.
not
Yeah.
saying that, they're always environmentally
changed.
sound, there's always good reasons for it.
Okay, I think if we could, we have concerns about the, was wet season groundwater monitoring ever done, Steve?
I believe it's, actually, I think they were done in April.
Oh, they were done during the wet season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you ever submit those results, or, yeah?
Oh, yeah, the results have been submitted, yes, with the application.
Okay,
There
and,
weren't monitoring results. The system was designed based on the highest elevation of dirt gravel in the pond.
Right.
okay, I'm willing to move forward. I think that if, of course, our concerns is the ability of the land to support the septic system. Realizing it's only a 3-bedroom house, realizing you have six acres, but you have poor land for septic. So that now we'd like to see that the chances of an effective system be improved, which could be helped by advanced technology. And at the same time, I feel uncomfortable with the ordinance that we have in place. I know what, I'm trying to remember, 10 years ago, all the reasons we did that. Joe gave us a very good synopsis. But I would like something from Tim, basically saying how we can, for your application, grant some waivers toward our existing ordinance. And combining them together, maybe we can reach an agreement.
There will be a deed restriction required if the board conditions approval on application.
Right, and that's tied into it. Well, Steve, if you go to advanced treatment, then there's deed restrictions.
Right.
And probably rightfully so. We don't know the ability of this. Well, it's probably to the advantage of the,
Sure.
And the development of the barn. Yeah.
Well, there'd be a lot of
Water
stuff.
sources.
Right, barn pool,
Well,
any
we
other
got-
water source, yeah.
This is why I say we gotta be careful, because when we come up with a list of restrictions, I think we want to be sure, just don't rush into it.
But you have to probably articulate to the applicant what it is that the board is going to, is Mr. Parker being asked to present a proposal with an advanced treatment system before approval, or?
I can make a suggestion. I think, that's certainly something the board is familiar with. It would, we've, as recently as this late winter of this past year, we did an advanced treatment system on a larger crossroad. We would probably do a similar system with that, to that. I don't know that it's something the board needs to approve. You've approved them before. The field itself would be the same. I think it's something certainly Mr. Kaczynski is capable of reviewing and approving the engineering, technical aspect of the design. And I would ask that we don't have to come back for that.
say that last thing.
I would ask that we don't have to come back to get approval for the revised design, but that could be reviewed by Mr. Kaczynski's office.
I would like to get it back. That's my opinion.
Well, Mr. Fisher, I've been 4.5 months into this
you didn't have a meeting last month.
Well,
The meeting before
I
that,
totally understand.
I know, and it's wearing on.
I know it's wearing, and it's not,
I have no reservations if the board wishes to condition approval tonight on the inclusion of a advanced wastewater treatment.
but with advanced wastewater, Joe, we're still keeping an eye on it, or I am, in Bedminster. Every time it comes, it's got a different twist. So every time it comes, I want to know what it is.
Yeah, the technology evolves and there are different types of advanced wastewater pretreatment devices. What would you propose to
The one the board previously approved that we were involved with on Larger Cross Road was a EcoFlow cocoa filter unit. It was a concrete tank, has a pump in it. It would just, that unit itself would replace the pump tank that we have on the current plans in front of the board. It's got a pump in it, and that provides the treatment in there. So it would just be basically replacing the pump tank that we're showing on the plans in front of you right now with that unit. It's got a pump in it, and then the field would stay the same as what the board has in front of you right now.
With the expansion, 25%?
Oh, yeah, there'd be no change to that.
And could there be a change to that? If it's the advanced system, could it go back down to the leach field that it had?
We wouldn't recommend it because the efficiency is actually lacks the permeability. So you want
Right, that's the issue. That's why the ordinance, things
So we would- the
aren't good as far as the
benefits-
soil conditions, and they keep coming back.
So the bed would stay at the 25% oversized that we already have
We're
here.
accepting
Right.
this. We're saying this is okay.
That's correct, and we would just
Well, I
basically
think,
replace
Joe, he
the
said it
pump
wasn't
tank that's shown on
used
the
for
plan
sizing.
with the advanced treatment unit
Then what's that
that the
mean?
board has seen on, any other previous design we submitted.
Joe, would you cover the wet weather monitoring again and tell us what you said?
The soil testing was conducted during the wet season in April, presumably for an alteration for a malfunction. Typically, monitoring of the groundwater elevation isn't required for malfunction in septic systems. For new construction, it's prerequisite. Since it was conducted during the wet season, the system was actually designed based on the modeling, which should be the highest occurrence. Oftentimes, the modeling doesn't show up, and morphology isn't in the model. You can't tell what the seasonally high water table is. In this case, there was modeling, there was evidence of where the seasonally high water table was located, and the bed has been designed in consideration of that. So, and if the board wishes to condition an approval based on the use of a pre-treatment device, that actually permits you to reduce your zone of treatment, which I wouldn't recommend in this case, but it's a belt and suspenders approach to ensure that you're going to have an unsaturated zone and plenty of treatment in that bed without any type of problems with the high ground.
So that 0.5 would be a non-issue at this time then?
I'm sorry.
That's 0.5, that
Oh,
would
yes.
not be an issue at this time?
No, that's not it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a step in for easing our concerns about the ability of the property to handle the system.
As far as reserve, since they don't, that would have to be a condition that usually what sometimes they've been able to go in and, well, what about, I guess with the advanced system, is reserve?
Still,
Well, the ordinance requires a reserve area. The COCO system that we've proposed and used in the past acts as a filter, and that does need to be replaced. So there's a maintenance schedule for that, where that gets removed and replaced. So that in its effect, changing the filter of the system, it's going to prolong the life of the field itself, where the sand is and where the stone is, by quite a bit. I don't have an exact number on that, but there's an effluent filter included with the design on the septic tanks. Then there's the cocoa fibers that are part of that advanced treatment unit that further filters it before it even gets out to the field.
Okay. And that existing in place, which we've done in other cases, stuff can be removed and that can be reused?
Also, yes, the field itself can, if most fields do fail when the infiltrative surface gets clogged up over time, that can be replaced under a repair application. It's just simple, you dig up what's there and you
So if
place
we
it
don't
put it back.
specify, if you don't specify reserve area, then that should be a note of sorts. I think we've done that before where,
There are two schools of thought.
It's always been a discussion.
Yeah, the two schools of thought with regard to reserve areas when you have, deficient soil tests. You don't want to give the impression that you have an area on the property that is suitable for subsurface disposal by showing reserve area. However, reserve area also acts as a placeholder. All of the setbacks that are applicable to the primary disposal area are also applicable to the reserve area. So there's 40-foot setback to pools, buildings and things like that. So, situation, circumstances, application to application, sometimes the board recommends showing reserve area even if the permeability has been shown to be deficient or the soil volume is unsuitable. In other cases, the board has decided that, well, we don't want to show the reserve area because we don't want to give false impression that this area is suitable.
Well,
But it also acts as a placeholder, so there's two ways.
right. I would look at it as an advantage, Joe, in this case, to depict a reserve area, even knowing the condition of the soils.
We would recommend that the reserve area would piggyback to the northwest, adjacent to the disposal area you have designed now.
And then finally, Tim, a defense of our ordinance, but now that we're adding the advanced system, now we're counteracting what some of the fears we had when we put the ordinance in, a very carefully crafted resolution. And I think we see some light.
I would also
So,
mention that in the resolution, it would be nice to mention that it's a 2,500 square foot house on the 16 lot. That way, when people come back and they want to build a 8,000 square foot house that only has 3 bedrooms, you know
well,
what
I think
mean?
you
It's-
restrict it to
But
the
I'm
3
just saying, like,
bedrooms.
because it's 3 bedrooms that are restricted, right? So this way.
It gives
if
some
you revisit
definition
this, it
as
gives
to-
some definition as to what's reasonable.
That these are
Yeah,
unique.
reasonable.
This is a
people.
unique application with particular circumstances and,
And it's a small house.
yes,
By bedrooms.
I certainly have no problem with that.
Okay, the rest of the board, come on.
What about 10? Did he resolve item 10 about the,
No pool house.
We'll provide that.
you'll provide item 10 with the calculations, buoyancy calculations?
No addition,
Yeah,
no addition of running
No
water.
addition of running water structures. You know,
Proposed well will be tested to, it has to meet the flow rate too.
Service connections to accessory structures, so
Right. yeah.
That's before actually a building permit can be issued to build that well. I believe that is the stipulation, right? Yep.
And maybe you need to throw in there additional bedrooms because that won't.
No,
be possible.
no. No more bedrooms.
Right.
Okay, and then
Right.
I want to see it back at the board, but we've made enough progress tonight that we're moving forward. We're not moving backwards.
Okay? Guess we'll see you next month then.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
progress.
Okay?
Is there any
It's a
other?
long,
all the other
tedious
points?
process.
Is there any state waivers that have to be,
for the deficient permeability, that's item number 2.
and what about that? Do they apply for that?
Because you're bringing the system closer to conformance for a 3-bedroom dwelling that currently exists, the state provides administrative authority with leeway to bring that over. If this was new construction, the board doesn't have the authority. But since there's an existing dwelling there, the state grants.
So we had
Yes.
okay. So item 2 is okay.
And I know what we're,
Let's do all the waivers next
go
month.
filter from like the crossroads.
Exactly.
I'll be able to incorporate that, we'll all know it, and
That'd be great.
hopefully next month.
Okay. That's right. Good. We'll make it quick next month. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think we did all the.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, we'll take
Before we
them
move
away.
on, Mr. Chairman, I sent you guys an email from the master plan and Reexamination Committee. They are here and we can take up 10, 15 minutes of your time.
Ooh, get away!
Master plan.
That's the ordinance.
Environmental Commission, so we're not
Okay.
half as busy as you guys. We'll be quick. We'll
We-
be 4 minutes.
We're not using
No,
this busy.
please, take your time. First of all, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Mr. Walter, this is Colin Hickey, we're both members of the
Hi, guys.
Master Plan Reexamination Committee, along with Bob Holtzweg, our old neighbor, and Jason Andrews. Okay, so we wanted to pretty much just introduce ourselves to people tonight, kind of explain what we're doing and how you can maybe help us. Every 6 years, we have to revisit the master plan. You may or may not be aware of this, the Mr. website has many, many different sections, many, many, many pages. You don't have a specific area in this section dedicated to the Board of Health, but we still wanted to talk to you to see if you had any input in regard to this document, because every 6 years, like I said, it needs to be changed. Similar, which is a perfect example of what just happened tonight with your ordinance that you created 10 years ago. Things need updating, things need to change with times. So does this document. So all we're doing is going to ask you to think about some things that you think might need to change in regard to your committee here, okay? One of those might be something like you just discussed tonight. Another one Bob asked us to discuss was emergency management.
Correct. We're thinking about the fact that natural disasters, pandemics, I mean, Sandy was the first indicator of something where the town had to respond. How might we organize to do that? And there is not much in the existing master plan around that. So we'd look for the Board of Health's input on that in terms of revising and updating what we need to have in place.
Okay. So all we want you to do is think about these things, respond back to us via email with a couple bullet points. If you think everything is fine, so be it. But we at least want to give you an opportunity to discuss it amongst yourselves and get back to us with any feedback to make this, an inclusive document.
Could you just go through a little of the table of contents of the master plan, so we have,
Real quick,
we have
I'll go
a,
through the sections, okay?
okay,
One of the parts is land use plan.
okay,
Another is the conservation plan. Another one is recreation and open space. And a lot of these different sections have committees already. Circulation plan, community facilities plan, which is like a library, fire protection, police station. You have water and sewer utility services plan. That has a section in there in regard to septics. Did you leave? In regard to septic, so you might want to look at that area. You might want to say, hey, I know there's some ordinances out there, there's other towns that implemented in regard to inspections of septics. I think there's a law that every 3 years the town has to send something out to people that say, hey, you got to get your septic inspected or tested. So that might be something you want to think about. You also have very quickly historic preservation, housing plan, recycling plan, farmland preservation plan, and then in the back has a lot of interesting maps and figures and things that they had at NP Saturday Night Neighborhood.
Could you get a copy so that the board members could get a copy of that?
You can all have a copy. I printed out 2. And Colin was-
No, I mean, not right now, but,
You can, if you go to the website, the
Okay.
Mr. website, it's right there.
Okay.
PDF form, just click on it, it's right there.
now you were saying about OEM. I know I sit on OEM and
So do I.
so, and I think they do have a, what is it?
There's some kind of.
There's some sort of plan, a master thing that they have that deals with the health code and that and stuff like that, as far as mass immunization and all that.
I wouldn't be surprised, it probably needs to be reincorporated in here, because this is, I
Doctor?
believe, ultimate,
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have an annex.
Annex, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
Well, that may be
I just
something to
saw
discuss.
something, actually.
Maybe you want to.
So would the OEM plan go in your plan, or would your plan go in the
Well,
OEM?
none of
No,
this
no.
is definite. These are just recommendations we're going to present to the Township Council and the Planning Board, and they can choose what they want to incorporate into the document. So these are, it's just feedback.
This is a suggested reference.
Exactly.
What is circulation?
Circulation.
traffic.
Traffic.
Basically.
I didn't know what it was.
Just keep getting
No, no.
around.
Something
But I'll
else.
tell you.
Believe it or
Blood
not,
pressure.
it's actually a big problem.
I don't know. I was thinking like, how do you let the community know something?
I
It's
don't
never
know,
been
yeah.
for travel.
We'll let you get back to your business, but just think about it, and if you could, within maybe 2 weeks, get back to us with the.
And how do we
That's
get
your-
back to you?
we can, we sent out a letter, I can leave you a copy of it.
Yeah, we can wait, that was-
You know what, we sent-
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know, it's,
Judy saw the email, but.
See, that's, what should we do rather than everybody just start throwing
Oh, I
stuff
don't
out?
have, so.
Judy Sullivan sent the email to us.
Yes.
Because I
Right.
went back and I asked her,
Right.
what is this? I
Yeah.
thought she was putting on us another committee.
No.
You know, and I said, what is this? And she said, no,
Yeah, so if
the
you-
mayor just wanted to, yeah.
Right.
Bullet points are preferable, because remember, we're making a set of recommendations to both the TC and the Land Use Board. And remember, they're going to look at them, they're non-binding recommendations, they can choose to adopt them or not. But at the end of the day, whatever the Land Use Board does has to be supported by the master plan in terms of new ordinances, revisions of ordinances or whatnot. So if there's something that needs to be incorporated in order to support their work, we need to get it in now. Because the master plan is almost the constitutional document.
But you
Okay,
said it
that's-
was suggestions.
There are suggestions, but remember, the master plan itself is the document of reference against which the ordinance are based, and they two cannot be in conflict. So this is, we're talking about suggestions to update this current document.
Oh, this document already exists for the town.
Correct.
Yeah.
We're just making up.
It's a review, it's the end, it's
I
the
review it every
6-year, 3-year review or whatever it is.
And we're actually behind the gate because right now, it was last updated 2005.
Okay. All right, now I-
You had mentioned recommendation on this, but you said within 2 weeks, we won't be meeting, and I don't know if every one of us should feed individual inputs.
What the way other committees are working is they have discussion amongst themselves, and then they go to one point, maybe, Albert or whatever, and they'll send out your bullet point recommendations to us. Okay, sound fair? I'm sorry, Albert. Or Marie,
Email.
Marie's my email.
Marie. Yeah, send them to Marie. No, seriously.
For house page.
We are not, first of all, we're not used to doing that, but we can. I mean, we can
Or you
change.
can send it to Diane.
Or, Trent, I don't know if you want to get involved in this or not.
I want to give you the opportunity.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
hoping by next month Diane is back.
I was going to community, you wanted to see it? Someone else?
But we'll see.
Send them to
It's
Diane
something
Coffee Trina.
we don't generally do, but we understand what you're asking, and we'll,
We get it.
And we appreciate you.
You don't have to do anything if you don't want, that's fine. We just
Yeah.
give you
But at
the-
least we can look at it.
right, of course.
Clearly, having you, subject matter experts, look at it as opposed to us, who,
Yeah.
can look at it, but we really don't know what needs to be updated, what you've seen in the field over the applications that come in the door, and therefore what needs to be included here.
We can send a group email to each other, but we
Okay.
can't meet without a public meeting notice. So we can't
Yeah.
have a meeting
Right.
between ourselves, but
Yeah.
we can send a group email, word or 2 weeks, if anybody sees it, it can just send it to us first, and then all the suggestions will come from Mr. Fisher.
Yeah, they should all go to one,
Yeah,
but
all
we
go to
can't
one
make a
person, right.
determination either.
So we can send, we can have a group chat, email, whatever, and send it to Mr. Fisher.
However you want to handle it, that's perfect.
Okay,
All right.
yes, sir, thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Singer.
Under new business, 1925 Burnt Mills Road, lots 11 and 12.
Board members have a copy of the July 17th correspondence manual? I prepared it. Okay, great.
There's 2 of them, yeah. We can share or whatever.
Made one for everybody.
Oh, you did?
I don't want people to feel left out.
Well, thank you.
We scared him after that.
Yeah.
Oh, July 17th, okay.
Yeah, after Sierra Engineering sent the letter, I saw that the revisions were minor. I made revisions, submitted it back to them on Monday, and that's where the second report came from. And once I get back to the desk, I'll explain what the differences were between the original submitted map and this map.
Okay, would you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, for the record, my name is David Hanson. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey. My home address is 62 Price Road, Augusta, New Jersey, and that's up in Sussex County. I've been a professional engineer since 1993, and during my career, I've designed in excess of 200 septic systems.
Whoa.
Probably none as hard as the last application that you had. If I can continue, along with me is William Singer. He is the owner of the property.
Good evening. Welcome.
He inherited the property from his father back in, or mother.
Purchased it from my mother.
Purchased
in 2005.
2005.
She inherited it.
The property in question is Block 55, lots 11 and 12, and if with reference to the map, Lot 12 has all the improvements on it, the house, the pool, the shed, and such, and Lot 11 is a lot that was purchased from the former subdivision that went to Green Acres once 287 went through the property. That has a 100% conservation easement on it with a minor allowance to allow the existing garden to be in place and for trees to be topped off to preserve the view. I just want to jump ahead out of my testimony, and one of the comments on the Fierro Engineering report, the first one, was the lack of a signed and sealed property survey. We only had one copy that was signed and sealed, and that was put on the plan. I said I would bring a signed and sealed copy. It's exactly the same as the inset on top, just that one was the copy that wasn't signed. Okay. The proposal before the board tonight is to replace a septic bed that is slowly going into malfunction. It is draining very slowly and is backing up into the distribution box, and it's not affecting the septic tank, but it's flooding the distribution box. The existing bed was installed around 1966, and based on some archive plans, it is a series of trenches, 2 trenches, I believe, about 60 feet long, with a sand drain at the end of one of the trenches. However, when I was doing my field work, I could not find any evidence with a septic probe of any crushed stone in that yard area. So it may have been built per the plan, it may have not been built per the plan. In 1985, Mr. Singer's father got a variance approval to install a swimming pool in the side yard of the property. Apparently at that time there was no consideration for setback or whatever. I would say that the existing system is just as close to the swimming pool as our proposed system is, if not closer. Again, in subsequent years, they purchased the property from the Kellogg's when that development went under because of the 287 construction, and a variance wouldn't have been required for the pool at that time because that effectively moved the property line over another 200 feet. The proposed bed that we are proposing is a 24 by 44 full depth replacement soil replacement bed. We did that because the existing permeability of the soil was a K2 soil, and we knew we were up against swimming pool setback and property line setback, and we also needed to conserve the ability of taking the runoff that comes down the driveway and route it around the bed and out onto the open space property the way that it currently is running right now. So we had to create an avenue, so to speak, for the flow to go through there. The existing bed is 1,156 square feet, and that meets the requirements for a K4 soil with gravity feeding. The waivers that we are requesting from the board, not in any special order here, but I'll go through them. Reserve bed. The site is constrained with the existing pool, an existing shed, the minimal rear yard area that's there, the open space to the back, and Route 287 to what would be the east side of the property. There is no location on this property in the backyard to put a reserve bed in of the same size. If a replacement bed would be required, the end result would be to excavate the existing bed out, clean the soil up, and install another bed basically the same as that's been designed. Full depth soil replacement, piping, and so on and so forth. Thought was originally, well, if we can't put it in the back, can we put it in the front? The well for this property is located approximately 70 feet in from the end of frontage road where the park is, and we would not have been able to get a 100-foot separation at that point, nor did I do any soil tests up there, because I'm only moving the septic field closer to the well, and it appeared that the backyard was the best place to put it, more or less in the same location as the existing field. Another waiver we are requesting is separation from the pool. Your ordinances require a 40-foot separation. We are proposing a 31-foot separation. We could go to 40, however, we would be cutting off the place where we would be grading in to allow the storm drainage from the rear yard to travel around the bed and further down the hill into the open space.
The line supposed to be, is that the one that says 30.6?
No.
It goes over the shed.
Right next to the shed, there's a separation line there. Also, if consideration is taken, the level of infiltration in the disposal bed is below the bottom of the pool in that location. And I don't believe that the water would travel up gradient into the excavation of the swimming pool and affect it at that point.
So I was going to ask, that is, the slope is...
The other way.
The slope is going south to north.
Okay, from the pool down to the
Yes.
field. Okay.
Yes. The next variance or waiver we are requesting is separation from the property line. In order for us to meet a 40-foot setback off the property line, would put us in into the shed area and closer to the pool than what we are already proposing. To slide that bed basically its entire width uphill would move it into the backyard more, but it would move it closer to the pool, and it would make its construction adjacent to that shed very difficult, and would also cut out our ability to address any of the drainage in the backyard at that point.
Now you go out to the road, and on the other side of the road, that goes down to the highway, correct?
Yes. Yeah, lot 11 and lot 12 is an isolated residential lot at the end of frontage road behind the town park. Next to lot 11 is township open space To the north of the property is township open space, and to the east is the highway right-of-way. Can't get any more isolated than this unless you put it in the middle of 100 acres. There's nobody in the area. And lastly, there was a request for the slope of the piping. We maintained a 2% slope between the existing septic tank and the proposed septic tank. However, we dropped our slope in the pipe from 2% to 1% coming out of the second tank going down to the disposal field. We felt that since the solids were taken out in the first tank and anything that passed would get caught in the second tank, we're looking at just water, the effluent going down, and 1% is more than sufficient to allow the flow to go down into the distribution box. This approach has been used on numerous occasions by myself where we had tight grades and we were trying to keep the bed level with the backyard and not require a whole lot of filling, and it's been accepted in many instances. One thing that I'd like to bring up is after I received a letter from Fiero Engineering, there was 10 or 11 items on that list. This revision that was handed out tonight that Joe had gotten by email back on Monday took care of all the plan required revisions, extra notes. If you note, between the original submission and this current submission, I added a bunch of notes to the plan on the right side. I added the select fill requirements. I put notes on the septic bed plan view, on the septic tank detail, and on the cross-section detail. Also of a note, I addressed Fiero's concern that I did not indicate a drop in the distribution box from the inlet to the outlets. The cross-section was revised. I crossed out the old elevations and I wrote in the new elevations to indicate the 1-inch drop in the distribution box. Naturally, that would occur during construction and it would be taken care of by the contractor, but it's noted on the plans that the distribution box has to have a 1-inch drop inside it. And that is all I have.
What about item 6, the
Item
NJDEP?
Okay. I'd like to provide testimony that I've been out to the site 4 times since the test pits, and being Mr. Singer. And I had the opportunity, after looking at an aerial survey, to walk back on the roads behind this project that were abandoned. All the roads are graveled, all the roads have drainage in them, and I walked approximately 800 feet down towards the river and not see any indication of wetlands. When I came back to my office, I used GeoWeb, that's a DEP database, and I looked at their database, and that entire development shows no indication of wetlands within the development. Therefore, it's my opinion that there are no wetlands within 150 feet of this bed or within 200 feet of the property. Just one instance that should be brought up is the test pits were done on May 2nd. That was a couple days after the close of the wet season, but the day before the test pits were done, we had 1.5 inches of rain, and there was at least 2 inches of rain prior to that in the week prior. So I was digging in wet conditions. And I'm assessing that my water table that was found was probably infiltration either from the existing bed or from the rain the night before.
So the state minimum is 20 foot, right, on property lines?
10 feet. So
10 feet?
all the requested setbacks meet minimum state code requirement.
Okay.
All the requested setback waivers are important.
Now, swimming pool too, is it state have one on the swimming?
Yes.
25.
25.
25? Okay. And the percent is not an issue?
No, as Ms. Hanson testified, all the solids will be maintained in tanks. So there shouldn't be any problem with the 1% slope.
I should also add, a preliminary review was made of the existing septic tank, and it looked like it was in good condition. There is a note on the plans in the general notes that that tank will be pumped and used as a holding tank while this construction is going on, and the baffles will be examined by the pumper or the contractor, and if baffles have to be replaced, they will be replaced with PVC baffles and brought up to the surface.
No existing field that has to be removed or that?
I don't know where the existing field is. However, I'm assuming half of the existing field is in our new field. If that is the case, that will be removed as part of excavation and the other field will be abandoned. It's to note that this existing field was a shallow trench design, but PVC wasn't invented back then, and they used the asphalt fiber piping.
Oh, okay.
I guess they call it Orangeburg piping.
Yeah.
And after 60 years, it's collapsed, which is probably why the system is running slow. It's an existing 4-bedroom house. It will stay an existing 4-bedroom house. No barn. Well, there's a shed. There's a shed for the pool.
But no plumbing.
The furniture in. No bathroom in there, no.
Could you describe the property on the north side of the proposed septic field with the 20-foot separation distance?
Yes. Along that northerly property line of the property, there was a 5 to 6 foot berm constructed, which is partially shown with the topography, which was the excess material that was taken out of the pool during the pool construction. That sits just inside the property line, and on the other side of the property line is the roadbed for the former subdivision. The berm is treed. There are cedar trees up there. There's deciduous trees up there. There are several trees located and clustered right around test pit number 2, which lies almost in the middle of the disposal field. Basically, all those trees and all that brush are going to be removed in order to construct this, so we won't have a problem with the trees being close to the bed. Once the area is graded, it will be topsoiled and seeded, and it will be utilized as a lawn all the way back to the berm along the property line.
Thank you. Comments, questions from board members?
Joe, no problem?
Nope, the revised plans addressed all of the engineering issues that we had.
Okay, we have a number of waivers. Let's take them one at a time. A reserved disposal area is not being depicted and will not need a waiver for that, for the reasons given in testimony.
Is that attached to the deed? So the property be sold and the homeowner knows there's no
Would that really be,
Usually attached to the deed or whatever, so that the property is sold, you can organize, there's no reason we don't.
No, shouldn't be the need for a deed restriction for this type of system.
Maybe just a waiver
It'll certainly
granted
be
due
in
to,
the resolution, it will be
Okay.
which is waiving our township
property conditions
requirement.
and reuse of, if needed, reuse of the
Same disposal
existing
field. Okay.
disposal field.
Okay, need a motion to approve that?
Second,
Mr. Gattis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
yes.
Ms. Berger? Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Ms. Pellejo?
Yes.
And Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Okay, the next, number 3 would be a waiver in the distance from the disposal area to the property line. That's item number 3.
Move to approve.
I'm sorry, who made the motion and who seconded?
Ron made the motion.
And this is for the actual approval, or this is for a waiver?
This is for
Waive.
A waiver, waiver.
Waiver. Second word.
Number 3 in the
You
letter.
guys don't do a roll call vote for waivers then? You just do first, second, and all in favor?
No, we do roll.
Then a roll
Roll
call.
call.
Typically, this is
Yeah.
fuzzy.
Okay.
It's a 5-member board, so normally
We've got extras here tonight.
the alternates typically don't go because you can only get 5 votes.
Which are your last two? You're an alternate?
I'm an alternate, yeah.
And you're an alternate. So I don't follow you.
So, only for comfort level, but no. Just to keep everybody interested. But no, once you reach the 5, that's 5.
Unless someone doesn't attend.
Yes.
Or abstains.
Okay, so who seconded that then?
House.
Okay.
Allison.
And now you guys do all, just to help me understand, you guys use all of your waiver sets?
Correct.
Okay.
Making it hard for you?
It's just very different from the land use board. They do everything in one.
Well, we're better.
More precise.
More detail oriented.
Mr. Gattis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
And Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Oh, no, and Ms. Berger.
Yes.
All right, I forgot you.
Get those 5.
Okay, the number 4 would, would be the distance to the swimming pool, minimum 40, and being provided?
31.
31, okay. Need a waiver for that?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Gattis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Berger?
Yes.
I need a waiver for the 1% too, I guess.
For number 5, I'm going to have to, Joe knew I was going to go right back to him. I don't know.
Yes, the administrative authority does have this provision in the state code that permits the administrative authority to grant that waiver on a connecting plan. And it's a better alternative to having to add a pump tank. 1% can be achieved, so we don't have any objection.
It'll work.
It will work.
That's
We have-
all I want to hear.
It's going downhill.
Okay, water runs down.
What's wrong with everything?
All righty, need a waiver for the pitch?
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Gattis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson? And Ms. Berger?
Yes.
We need approval on the whole thing.
And finally, we'll need an approval for the, based on the engineer's testimony regarding wetlands, need approval for the application for the plans.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Gattis?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Berger?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Am I to understand the resolution comes back next month, or does it get mailed to us?
It'll get mailed to, they'll approve it next month, and then they send
Okay.
it out.
Then where does the plan end up getting signed? Does the plan get signed at that point, stamped and signed, or how does that work?
That's Joe.
Oh,
I'm sorry, sir?
how does the plan get stamped and signed? After the resolution?
You can send my office 4 signed and sealed copies of the final document so that we can prepare the permit to construct. In the event the board doesn't meet next month, memorialize the waiver, we will still issue the permit to construct. It's a malfunctioning system. We won't have a risk of, discharge.
Okay.
Put it on your calendar. We got a meeting.
You want to give him your,
Oh, yeah, my God, we got a meeting next month.
or your 4?
Be upset.
Oh, boy.
I'm on that Thursday.
Okay, I'm going to give you 4 right now. I was going to suggest looking at what the... I have one already. Oh, you know what, this one isn't because I...
Oh, wait, he did that, yeah.
Great.
Is it always the first? Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's gotta be the church.
Okay. We have an application for a minor subdivision, which is on 1120 Lamington Road. Block 39, lot 15.
Good evening, Board. Matthew Draheim, Gladstone Design.
Welcome.
If you're ready, I'll begin. The application before you is for 1120 Lamington Road. It's for a proposed 2-lot minor subdivision. The property is located on the north side of Lamington Road, or sorry, south side of Lamington Road, and is currently occupied by a single-family dwelling with a barn and associated agricultural outbuildings. The application before you is for approval of the soils testing that was used to determine soil suitability for primary and reserve subsurface sewage disposal areas for the 2 lots in question. Looking at the plan, the front lot closest to Lamington Road is lot 15. It will be a 14-acre parcel, and the rear lot, lot 1501, will be a 7.72-acre parcel. This deviates from the township zoning standards of the R10 zone. However, the application is utilizing the lot size averaging provision that your ordinance allows. Soils testing was performed on the property April 24th and 25th of 2017 and was witnessed by Joe Kaczynski from the Board of Health. On each of the proposed parcels, 3 areas or 3 soil logs were excavated at various depths to determine the soil suitability for the project. Give an overview of just the underlying soils as mapped on the USDA NRCS soil survey. There are 4 main types of soils located on the property: Clinesville Shannery loam, Norton loam, Penn silt loam, and Roland silt loam. The Clinesville Shannery loam, the Norton loam, and the Penn silt loam are all very similar in textures, consisting of shaly loam with underlying fractured red shale bedrock, while the roll-in silt loam is very indicative of areas that are frequently flooded or wet areas. This property has the Hoopstick Brook, which bisects it in the middle, and also has an existing agriculture irrigation pond on the property. The areas for disposal area are not located within the roll-in silt loam soil types. That also satisfies comment 1 of the Ferraro Engineering Review Lab. So on lot 3, the 3 areas are located on the western edge of the parcel. They were excavated to depths between 108 and 114 inches. The primary soil material consists of silt loam and clay loam in the upper horizons, with fractured shale at the bottom. There was excessively coarse fragments located at the bottom due to the fractured shale bedrock. There was no groundwater or evidence of modeling in any of the excavations, and because of the excessively coarse horizons, basin floods testing were performed in 2 of the 3 excavations, proposed lot 15, both of which drained within their 24-hour required time, both times. Proposed lot 1501 has 3 areas that were excavated, located around the middle of the property. Those logs were excavated to depths between 114 inches and 120 inches, and the soil material again consists of silt loam and clay loam with fractured shale at the bottom of the bed. Again, with the fractured shale, basin floods testing was done. Both tests in two of the three soil logs were tested with basin flood, both passing their 24-hour reading. Again, no groundwater or modeling was located in any of those excavations. So the development that you see on the plan is conceptual at this time to show that the property can sustain development. The primary and reserve disposal areas shown on the plans are currently sized for 6-bedroom dwellings. However, that is subject to change at the time of final lot development plan and subject to approval from the land use board. All the soil condition observed would predicate a soil replacement fill enclosed system when the system is actually constructed. However, any new systems constructed at the time of a home would have to come before this board again to receive full approval for the proposed septic system.
Question, now, the second lot's a flag lot, correct?
That's correct.
And the access crosses wetlands and a pond?
That is correct. Well, the access does not cross the pond. We are before the DEP.
Or it crosses the brook?
It crosses the brook, correct. We have an application currently pending with the DEP to receive a general permit for the stream crossing.
And we'll do the same with the wetlands?
Right, it would all be all encompassed.
Is the first house staying?
No, all improvements on the property are to be removed.
Is this approval condition of staff?
No, the applicant does own the property.
If you don't get state approval, then the second lot, if you can't get permission, then, I'm not saying...
Correct. Everything is all predicated upon, conditioned upon receiving DEP approval for the crossing and Bedminster Township Land Use Board approval for the subdivision itself.
So we're just looking at to see whether it can the septic system, is that basically?
Basically,
That's what
this
we're doing.
application is just to demonstrate that the soil
It's-
testing
It's
is
fine.
supportable.
Okay. Because they'd have to come back once the
With a full
house-
design.
Right, okay, yeah, okay.
so they're subdividing it for two additional dwellings.
That's right.
Well, actually, there's a dwelling on one of them already.
Well,
Right,
Right,
but,
yeah.
yeah, but two.
Two new dwellings.
Two new
dwellings.
dwellings.
That's
Two
correct.
more, two new dwellings, right, yeah.
I knew you meant.
Okay, thank you for your testimony. Other questions from board members?
Is this on the Trump side of Montana or the other side?
It's located on the side of Trump National Golf Course, correct? If just for reference, going down Leamington Road, you pass the substation, the electrical substation, as you start climbing up the hill, and there's a house that sits very close to the road with some horse fencing on it. That's the
Right.
property in question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, that house.
That's way before the Justice store.
Correct.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Joe, do you have any comments, other than what's in the review letter?
No additional comments.
And all comments in the Farrar Engineering Review Letter will be addressed as part of the approval.
So it's yes to everything? 1 through 6? Okay, I see no obstacles to the subdivision. Proposed subdivision.
Need a vote, I approve, I second, whatever, resolution.
Mr. Gattis? Yes. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Good boy.
Oh, she lumped down.
Okay, we have an application and design for an individual subsurface disposal system, cidery and sales facility on Block 6, Lot 1.02, which would be, have the address of 3540 Route 206, and it's John Coates. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Vincent Ruggiero. I'm a professional engineer employed by Apgar Associates. Sitting next to me is John Coates. He's the applicant.
I'm sorry.
My last name? Ruggiero. Ruggiero.
Thank you.
John Coates is sitting next to me. He's the applicant. This application is for a commercial facility called Cidery, which is for the production of apple cider products. It's located at 3540 Route 206 North, Block 6, Lot 1.02. The site is an existing undeveloped 8.3 acre lot, about half wooded and half grass field. According to the Somerset County Soil Survey, the soils in the septic area aren't filled, gravelly loam. On March 17th, 2017, Apgar Associates reported 2 acceptable soil logs in the primary area and acceptable soil logs in the reserve area. We collected 2 bag samples, 12 feet, and had a soil permeability class rating that's performed on, and they came back as K4, which is a good rate. We also installed 2 standpipes, one standpipe in the reserve area, one standpipe in the primary area. And we monitored the groundwater from the middle of March to the end of April. The highest water level in standpipe number 1, which is the reserve area, was 12 to 8 inches below the ground. And then standpipe number 3, which is in the primary area, was dry. There was no water during our observation. The following is the calculations we use to determine the storage volume for the project. There's a sales office and an office in a sales area, 28 by 36, and we used 1/8 of a gallon per square foot for that computation, and it came to 126 gallons per day. We assume there's 50 customers per day coming into the sales area at 5 gallons per person, and that comes to be 250 gallons per day. And we assume that maybe they would use 10 gallons to wash down the floor, and that flow would go into the floor drain and into the system. And we assume that would be 100 gallons per day, with a total of 476 gallons per day. We're proposing a soil replacement bottom line disposal bed, be 43 feet long, 18 inches wide, and 12 feet deep. They'll have 2,000 gallon septic tanks, and it'll be gravity flow. On July the 15th, we received a review letter dated July 13th from Ferrero Engineering, and it had five comments about the design. Number 1 is that the soil testing demonstrates that proposed disposal areas are suitable for a septic system construction. Okay, number 2, testimony should be provided to the board which presents a summary of the type of waste that are to be discharged to the septic system from the various activities which will occur in the sitery. And all of the waste going into the septic system is going to be sanitary sewer waste. The other waste, like from cleaning the tanks and disinfecting the tanks, it's all going to be self-contained on site, and it's going to be disposed of by a tanker truck. They're going to come and pick it up and dispose of all that stuff. That stuff is not going into the septic system. Number 3 says an architectural plan for the proposed facility should be provided for the board, and we provided you with a copy of that. Number 4, the proposed well must meet the requirements of the Board of Health Code section B, H, semicolon, Roman numeral 4, and we'll put that note on the plans. And that note is for the well must comply with the minimum well yield of 5 gallons per minute, and have a water quality that complies with the Private Well Testing Act. And number 5 says any approval should be subject and limited to the scope of operations provided by the applicant. What's proposed is what's going to be implemented. There's going to be no changes to the plan. And it says deviations or intensification of the facility operations will be subject to the review and approval of the Bedminster Township Board of Health. But the applicant is not proposing any intensification. It's going to be as is proposed. If you have any questions about the septic system, we'll be glad to answer them. And if any questions about the cider process, Mr. Coach will answer that.
Looking for approval for this? Because actually, when the architectural plans, I think the reason you wanted the plans was so the Board of Health could review the layout and see it as far as from a health standpoint, I think. It is a manufacturing facility, I think. And then with Dave that would, oh, is that it? Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm sure Somerset County's going to have their own requirements. You know,
Is there a restaurant facility this time? Are you serving food as well? or-
So when you calculate the 50 customers per day, is that
I
just?
guess you got the heat stuff there anymore.
Can you do that just as an average, because if you're gonna have events where you might
But the
have
only
a lot more people
architectural
coming in
plan.
at one time, and it's still
No,
handled?
there's no planned events, but if they have an event, they will they'll provide like a footage on it, because that would exceed the design criteria. It was, but he has no intention of providing any of this.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, if they have an event, just say in the future, they will provide like porta-johns, because the number of visitors like exceed the design criteria.
Right,
So-
right.
An event like a cider tasting,
Right.
like
Yeah.
like wine
Yeah.
tasting. so
Yeah.
that-
Are you going to grow anything on the property? You're gonna grow the apples
Oh,
there?
sure, we've already ordered over 200 apples.
Okay. And the restrooms? Single stall restroom? One, two stalls
restrooms.
per?
No, 2 restrooms, I suppose single stall, yes. I suppose so, this is not really designed to have, it's not meant to have a lot of people, we're not expecting a lot of people. It's essentially, primarily a prostitute facility.
How many people would be working during the day?
I'm sorry?
How many people, employees?
Well, it's designed to handle up to 10, but, you know, my own personal plan is, you're looking at the employee for the first year. After 10 years, if everything goes according to plan, and you have to take that with a big grain of salt, I'm very grateful to have more than a year, and work on planning my own day. We're looking at 6 employees at the end of 10 years.
You know, I could see this really being busy in the whole fall and into the holiday season. I really could see that happening. I could see events and tastings and birthday parties, adult birthday parties probably, but maybe some kids too. I could see all of that. Is the system big enough for you to expand your restroom areas?
The parking facilities.
And the parking just doesn't look like it's going to handle enough for the fall season, but mostly the restrooms.
Yeah, so again, this is not set up as a, Helix and Allsted where you get your own or
Right.
I'm trying to attract a lot of traffic. This is really not going to be set up for that. As Vincent said, if we were to do events, we're not planning to do this, but we would contemplate bringing on, the temporary solution.
So
We have sales there?
There would be sales for on-premise consumptions and sales for off-premise consumption.
just cider or apples too? Just
Hard
cider?
cider.
And it's alcoholic cider.
Yeah.
Hard
It's
cider.
just like, okay.
Not apples.
So you say so there would be like a bar area
A
for?
tasting room, sure.
Oh, a tasting room, okay.
Yeah.
What I mean is, it wouldn't be something where you'd be open every day for
Yeah.
We're not.
on-site consumption.
Right. So, if you're asking me for my current plan, I envision something that's open maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, during happy hours. So 4 hours on Thursday and Friday, and maybe more in the afternoon for Saturday and Sunday. I don't know the answer to these just yet, and I don't even have approval, but that's what I'm contemplating.
Do you need a liquor license?
I do need approval. So
And then
I need federal approval, I need state approval.
Now, for your on-site consumption, what will the capacity be?
I'm sorry?
What will the
do you mean
capacity of how many people can,
Yeah, we're expecting 50. I
and
don't-
2 restrooms would handle?
I think, well,
Yeah, it should be, and then, not everybody goes to the bathroom at the same time.
Well, that's,
Not everybody uses the facilities when they come in.
Dave gotten copies of this?
Yeah, that's how they're set up in other places.
if you take off, if this business takes off, and it certainly could, can you expand
I don't know.
restroom areas?
Whether they've got,
And can, you
Yeah,
may want to do
David
more,
DeRosa.
and maybe you're going to bring on other items to sell, maybe local honey. You'll be doing two things or three things.
Right, I think that's a great question. As currently contemplated, I don't think the footprint would.
Really, until we get comments from Dave, we should,
That we get ourselves into a pickle where we have to expand to accommodate more.
And your system that you're putting in holds that expansion.
I think it can hold 476 gallons a day, so more than 50.
If it has to be expanded, it can, because we have good soil conditions over there.
Okay.
Get it where it has to be.
More,
Doctor, do you know if Dave has reviewed these plans? Has Dave reviewed the plans yet? So we don't have any comments from Dave on them at all? He's our Board of Health inspector, and which is through Somerset County, so I think we want any input from him before we...
From the septic system approval, probably not.
Not,
From the aspect of,
So if we do the septic system, we're not, we've got to limit it, say, we're just approving a septic system, and
and
that's it.
he's gonna have his own requirements as far as,
So we're not approving the business for the...
probably gonna, you're part of it. Sure.
You wouldn't want to oversize the septic system to accommodate future bathrooms. I think that's what they're getting at. Like if
Is there septic there?
not that necessarily.
Yeah,
if
it's
you're
got
gonna
septic,
bathroom
yeah.
now, but would you want to oversize the septic system to accommodate 4 bathrooms in the future, even though
Right,
you're only
right.
putting 2 in now? I think that's what their point is.
Right.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I'm saying, is you want to expand the system big enough to allow you to do it.
I appreciate the comment. I think they based the septic design off of what I've given to them as our 10-year plan.
Right.
As Vincent said, the system is designed to enable to allow future expansion. But this is talking about things that are hypothetical in the future. The business doesn't even exist at this point, so we're going in front of you with a certain set of plans.
And a lot of his business might be, computer business, off the internet, right?
Oh, yeah, the vast, not necessarily off the internet, but the vast majority of our sales are going to be, off-premise source, so third-party distribution, retail sales.
I think it's going to be an interesting liquor license because there aren't that many that allow packaged goods and consumables in the same site. Like for your liquor
First of all,
license,
does
your
Bedminster
ABC,
have a liquor
ABC
license
has
for
a different
sale?
brand. I don't know if the township has a liquor license. I'm just curious.
Well, there's precedent actually in the tax code, the Missouri White Marine license, and that allows the holder of the license to produce and sell off-premise alcohol. And on-premise for off-premise consumption or on-premise consumption. So, but there are no other consumables that we're looking
Well, I meant the alcohol.
just yet. Yeah, that's the license.
Now, in the process, you generate pulp, obviously, when you're in the process of making cider. How is that disposed of? That does not go into the septic, right?
We don't generate pulp. In the apple cider plant is referred to as a pomace. In creating apple cider, you create pomace. I'm getting deliveries of cider for processing.
But you said you were having apple trees.
So for the trees, the fruit that comes off of our trees, they're going to get shipped off-site. We're going to contract for
And then it comes
cider
back.
making.
So there's no waste from that you're going to use.
So it's all liquid, is what you're saying?
It's all
what about the cleanup of the fermenting tanks?
That's an excellent question. So it's important. The process of the solution we found is for a closed loop system that is mobile. Rather than bring the tank to the cleaner, we bring the cleaner, push it right up to the tank. And if I can approach the bench, I can give you a photograph of
Sure.
some of the solutions. You may have one already in your packet. I'm not sure. Yeah, so it's a very similar design. I'm not sure I have enough copies for everyone.
Where we can check
So what you're looking at is basically a one tank solution. What we're looking at are 2 and 3 tank.
It's,
This tank is, the solution is really a tank plus a pump and a modulator. And in between the tank and the pump is on the bottom left. There are 2 valves. You take hose from one valve and you put it attached to the top of one tank. And at the bottom of the fermentation tank, you attach another hose and bring it back to the cleaning module and hook it up to the second valve. So that way you have a closed loop. You wash the tank and basically recycle the cleaning solution. Then you rinse it, and then you have a sanitizing solution that comes from the second tank. So this way, the cleaning solution, the sanitizing solution, which get held in a separate container, just get recycled, reused, or procured out of one. And it never gets, the design is basically to allow you to have a waste hauler coming to contacted people already for books. And, that to me is the most efficient way to do it.
Is that what you mentioned in your, that the waste was going to be hauled away?
Yes.
Okay.
Where would the sink and the control lab be drained to?
Into the septic.
Then a certain amount of product does enter the septic system.
Product could enter the septic.
Well, a certain amount, if you're doing controlled testing in the control lab and you're checking for bacteria or something and you've finished your test, then you put it down the sink and the sink goes to the septic, so a certain amount of your product, be it a very minute amount, goes to the septic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's correct. Of course, I'd say anything, this is also something that you'd be willing to consume. So it's nothing that goes into the septic is not something that you wouldn't want to.
Do you know any similar facilities working on septic, and whether there's any, have you researched the effect of cider on septic systems? Do you have floor drains in the,
Yes, we do.
where do the floor drains go?
To the septic.
That's the 100 gallons per day that's allocated to the science and wash down.
Sewer wash down.
That's something Paul and I discussed because, without knowing exactly what the discharges were, Paul was curious to decide whether or not it was considered an industrial discharge. There's certain provisions for sanitary discharge or industrial discharge, but everything that's being produced at the facility is consumable. So we don't consider it or interpret it to be an industrial type.
But it has a loading, Paul. It has a loading, which If it's a food product, it's got a loading, which if you bring it into the realm of sanitary, it's got a BOD, it's got a COD, it's got characteristics that depicted as wastewater.
Agreed.
So if you have normal wastewater and the BOD is 100, and then you combine that with plant wastewater, what I'm saying is, what does that do to the loading? Does it keep it at 100 BOD value, or does it jump it up to 500? There's a lot we don't know about the loading.
Yeah, that was the basis for our question number 2. We didn't really know, just reviewing the plan, what type of wastes were actually going to be. So, how much actual organic material
Dave should.
do you anticipate will be discharged?
We should get feedback from Dave first. My opinion.
Just water?
We're spraying, anything where, you spray down the floor, you spray down the tank.
You might use steam too, right? Steam cleaner. Just use that much water.
So it sounds like it would be fairly diluted then?
Non-organic matter.
If there were any wastes associated with that washboard. And I didn't know, from the production perspective, if there were going to be solids, which is going to be 8 bits basis, I guess, for our comment number 2. So if it's highly diluted cider and things like that, it's not going to overload the treatment capacity. That's what the board is.
And did you say 10 gallons? Is that enough water to?
It's 100.
Oh, you said 100.
It is.
Oh, I thought you
It's
said
100,
10
yeah.
gallons to wash the floor and then tank something. Is that enough water?
No.
Yeah, but 10 gallons maybe not, but 100 gallons.
100 gallons. Oh, yeah, 100, yeah,
I'm
fine.
trying to contemplate,
I thought that he totaled everything up to be 100.
no, 100 for the, what was that component?
100 gallons, yeah.
For a floor drain, for the washing the
Floor
water.
drain.
Yep, I see him, yep.
Our first responsibility is to make sure the proposed treatment will completely be adequate to for the waste going into it. We know a lot about domestic waste. We know very little about domestic waste combined with food products, except that sometimes you get in trouble. As an example, when you're combining wastewater with milk products, sometimes the results are not favorable because of an overload of the milk products. The cider, its fermentation products, I don't know. I wish we knew more about it. Or is there any source you have in the industry to provide information on the nature of whatever little product you're putting into the septic?
Oh, I'm trying to put it in perspective. The system is designed to handle 476 gallons a day. If we're zeroing in on cider product going into the system, then we have to focus in on the lab. And what we're talking about are beakers that will hold 2 ounces of cider, and this is not a daily process. You check a tank once a week, sometimes less frequently than that.
Well, I'm not concerned about the laboratory as I am of the washing, the 100 gallons used to clean up. That is in contact with product, is it not?
No.
It's
Not at
not?
all. It shouldn't be.
Okay, then
If it is,
explain again what happens with the 100 gallons.
100 gallons, so, you know, maybe you can chime in where, you know, where you see the 100 gallons, but the actual process of washing down a floor, or spraying down a tank is literally just spraying down a tank where,
Right.
as long as I haven't made a mistake, or let's say an employee who's in charge of cleaning the tank hasn't made a mistake, and there's no reason for mistakes to occur. People make mistakes. You're putting a valve into a tank, and it should be, you know, dropless, drop-free. There's not. We don't want.
Oh, okay, the sterilization process, I understand. When you wash down the tank after the sterilization happens, and you've taken your sterilizing fluid and you've stored it again in the tank. Now you have equipment that you need to wash down. You have vessels that need to be rinsed, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily happen. The tank cleaning solution is for the inside of the tank. That doesn't get used on the outside of the tank.
Right, right.
Yeah. There's a different source of that. It's just the hose from the water, not that. It's not
That inside fluid is a closed system, and then you fall right off.
Yeah, that gets put
Yeah,
outside
that
and never
doesn't
goes into the septic.
Yeah.
There should be no cider. I mean, from time to time there will be, and you know.
Yeah, but if you disconnect a hose and you get a little dripping or something.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if you go into a lab and I need to test pH of cider, or if I
Yeah, well, that I'm not concerned about.
That's where you're going to get the cider into the system, and I'd argue it's, I mean, negligible or de minimis. That's my view. But when it comes to washing the outside of the tanks and the floor, you know, you want a sanitary system. There shouldn't be any cider anywhere on the outside because of the.
Are they polished stainless tanks?
I'm sorry?
Are they polished
Yeah.
stainless steel
I don't know if
tanks?
they're polished, but they're stainless steel.
Okay.
Let me ask about the canning and packaging, canning area.
Yeah.
That could be an area where product is.
You bring up a great point. So we will use a mobile canning solution initially because our production is going to be very low in the first year or two. But the canning solutions will basically have a way. They have closed loop systems as well. They hook up to a hose bit, and then they recapture whatever water they're using, and then recycle it through a pump, and then use it on other gallons. And then at the end, at the very end, you know, you have the same thing. You have basically a bucket of water, and you'll fit the can in, do whatever you want. Or you can automate. I haven't looked into the automating process at the end, but there are many ways that you can have. But that is not, again, that's not liquid that makes its way down.
I can't imagine it could because of the it has to be sanitary the way it's produced and put in the cans.
Yeah,
So,
right, exactly. We want to keep it
Right.
very clean.
So the cleaning solution lasts about a month?
One that's in the mobile cleaning tank, yes.
Right.
Yeah. The one that gets all the.
How many gallons is this?
So there, the picture that I just showed you, each tank holds 60 gallons.
And how many tanks?
2 tanks.
Okay, so you have 120 gallons.
Correct.
And then you have a service that comes in and pumps.
Yeah. One is called CMEG, the nationwide. They do exactly this stuff.
You have log books that are kept as far as all the pumping and waste disposal and all that?
Well, I don't have.
Or would they have, well,
Yeah.
you must have something that.
Sure. Sorry, we're talking about it in the future. Right now, I don't have anything.
Oh, no, but you,
Yeah.
that would be part of the,
Absolutely, we've gone over that with them. They create, they have detailed record of what exactly is kept basically all the way. They have a specific code number assigned to not just my property, but to the barrels, the totes that get all the way. So it's all tracked.
Would you mind us building this into the resolution? The tracking of the cleaning solution when it comes to you and then when it goes?
I don't mind that at all. Whose responsibility will it be to make sure that they're tracking it? So what, then please specify.
Well, we're coming, you as the owner, we're saying, show us that you're conforming to the ordinance. So it's not the disposal company, it's you that have I would believe that they would have the records saying.
They give you a log.
They give you a log.
The same as a grease.
Pumping receipt,
Yeah, I think that's probably. Yeah, absolutely. I already do that with everything. Yeah, so.
Okay. We, as Allison mentioned, we track discharge from grease traps, from, to make sure, what's taken out really gets out and
I think that's fair.
not dumped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you this, with your in-house consumption, would food be part of that process?
No, absolutely not. We don't have any plans for a kitchen. I don't want to deal with it.
Okay, no, it wouldn't be food, so there'd be no food brought in, or it would be just.
I don't know. Am I gonna turn somebody away if they come in with food? I don't think I would.
Oh, do you mean the people bring their own food?
I don't know.
Usually in facilities where you're providing alcohol, like for consumption on site, right? You said you're gonna go for consumption on
Like
site.
tasting.
Sell and tastings and stuff like that. They usually put some kibbles and bits or whatever that is. In the peanuts.
Got it, crackers, jeez.
Come and taste, but bring your own
Hard cider,
cheese.
no crackers, what's going on here?
Yeah, we're not planning to have a kitchen or offer food up. It's pure, taste per se.
See, this is why I had asked if our health official had reviewed the plans, because, I have no problem with it, I just would be more comfortable when he would look it over, who he might have experience or have some knowledge in this area where he could ask questions or bring up issues that we're not knowledgeable enough to do at this time.
I suggest just a condition of approval is, satisfaction of any Somerset County Health Department requirements, if the board chooses.
I think the issue isn't the health department requirements, it's the usage. So Dave might look at it and be concerned about whether the septic system is appropriate size because of usage issues more than.
I can't speak for Dave in that regard, but I would have to guess that he's going to be more focused on.
Do you have any comments, Doctor?
Sanitation. If the food prep or service is taken out of the equation, then it becomes purely a septic issue for the board.
Okay.
Including the washing of the tanks and the reusing of the sanitization solution and all that sanitizing.
We want to be sure that something's not going to happen 5 years down the line, that the system fails and they come in and have to.
Or that the sanitizing solution isn't good enough for Dave, for the tanks, and then, and then you have to use regular water, to clean the tanks. That's what, I'm just not familiar with this.
Yeah, I know.
Sewer system.
Because if you can't use this, you have to wash out the tanks, and then that changes the numbers on the septic system.
Yeah, but we're just not contemplating anything like that. Why?
It would require additional approval. If they contemplated that use, they would have to.
Well, then all you're doing is putting restrictions on your, the resolution, which would mean that if you did change, you'd have to come before the board again.
Right, if the health department person is not okay with this reusing the sanitizing solution for a month, then you have to go to a different way to clean the fermentation tank, then that may mean additional water use, which may mean different septic requirements. So the resolution would have to be that this is what was presented to us.
Would a 1 month
This is
delay be
acceptable to the
an
health
issue?
department official
Would a 1 month
as
delay
being
be an
appropriately
issue? Or
sanitizing.
she wants to start right away?
That's my
Oh, but you could, the alternative, let's say it's only effective, think about it from my perspective. I need, out of necessity, I need to have perfectly sanitized tanks. If I find, or somebody else discovers, that the tanks aren't there and you need to change them out every 2 weeks instead of every month, well, guess what? I'm gonna.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna-
you would still use the same system, you would just do it more frequently?
As long as it's efficient, the efficacy is there, then the flip side is it just needs more frequent
And this is an industry standard?
Not, it's actually surprisingly, most people don't do this type of solution because it costs more. And they're not as environmental. I volunteer.
I'm okay with the Board of Health resolution, as long as it's part of the health department.
The cider does sort bacteria. In fact, if cider is made and the water is somehow contaminated, then that carryover is very evident in the cider. It's whatever's in there. If you've got bad cider, you pick it up real fast. So I think the way you prevent it is to you're pulling in your cider from the juice from an external source, correct?
Correct.
Then you're fairly confident that the cleaning solution is a technology that's proven.
The technology is proven, commercially viable. The clean solutions have been used in the industry for a while. I think for 50+ years, it's been a company that I use right now to source the stuff that's been around. If it didn't work, then you would know. But in addition, there's, like winemakers, when you get your juice, you can add sulfites, kill off yeast, and that kills off some bacteria. But then the cider it's not going to be going into the septic.
Now, we're approving a septic system, not the business, or?
You're approving the use and the septic, correct.
So we're approving the use, so that's why I really feel that then Board of Health, the comments, or if he comes up with any objections or suggestions or restrictions, that should be part of if we vote to approve tonight, that should be part of it.
Absolutely. Any approval tonight should be conditioned on Somerset County Health Department approval.
The environmental aspect of things, the discharge.
Everything, yeah, he would, yeah, okay. As long as we got that condition in there, then.
Alrighty. That's my review letter.
We'll have to change the chairman. Meeting on forever.
Okay.
It's a lifetime job.
No.
Please didn't bring it. Okay.
I don't know what else we can do, as long as you got that condition, unless you have some concern.
Tim, do you think the amount of testimony given is enough to cover us
The
here?
purpose that he's here for, which is the septic approval, and with the condition that the the Somerset County Board of Health just verifies that in a cider production atmosphere, there's not.
Yeah, and he has.
likelihood of something that we haven't contemplated? No.
He has no issues with the
Sanitization.
stat, you know, and restrooms or anything else like that, or the in-house consumption and so on and so forth. Okay.
If the State County Health Department knows of some data that would make the efficacy of the septic system called into question because site of production does something historically, then it will condition upon that.
Then they have to come back.
Yeah, and we'd have to supply the data to the applicant to say this is why there's a question. They come back and clear it up.
Okay,
So it's conditional approval.
so the resolution will very clearly state that the contact with product is minimal, primarily through the quality control laboratory, and that the cleaning solution will be inventoried in and inventoried out and kept as permanent record.
Outsourced, it's a company that actually does this, and the product doesn't make its way into the septic system.
Alrighty, I see no that testimony. I feel comfortable with the system. So we need no waivers. The septic system, Joe, is basically straightforward, right?
Yes.
No problem. Slam dunk, done. It's, okay. We have no issues with the design of the septic. We're just controlling what goes into it. So, with everything said, Trina, you're okay with everything you've heard and getting it into the minutes and some hard cider?
You'll appreciate that.
Soft cider. I'm talking about my real cider.
You okay?
I'm good.
Okay. Alrighty. I know you could.
When are you planning to open?
About a year from
Oh, that long, yeah.
Oh, gee.
now. Maybe less.
We're going to be inviting you to our Christmas house.
You bring the hard cider.
Bring the hard cider.
Okay, need a motion.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck.
We'll see you again.
He hopes not.
Hope see you again.
Yeah, only his purchases, right?
Yeah.
You want to see
That last person should just get approved for staying.
I know. You just get
Yeah.
You need the last person gets a free.
You realize what time it is?
It's time to go.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Okay. According to the agenda, we have one more application.
Oh, my God. I hope I can,
That's what I
yes, I hope I can still think.
That's what you get for taking a month off.
Good evening.
My name is Robert Templin. I'm a licensed engineer and surveyor in the state of New Jersey. I prepared the septic design that is in front of the board this evening. The property is known as Block 1, Lot 6. It fronts on the Lamington River. Robert Templin, Templin. Correct.
It's on the bottom.
The property fronts on the Lamington River. It has access to Fairmont Road East across a little bridge in front of the property. There are 3 other properties on the north side of the river. And to the rear of the property, we have a wetland ditch, and then the property rises very steeply up to Hacklebarney Road. So we're very limited as far as areas to do soil testing and also put a septic system on the site. The Lamington River is a C1 classification, water quality. There's a 300-foot buffer associated with that, which pretty much takes out the whole front portion of the property, where the existing 3-bedroom single-family home is. And the wetlands in the back would also have a 150-foot buffer, which would affect the septic system. With the board's approval, we'll be going to the state to get necessary general permits for the wetland and any permits we need from stream encroachment for the proposed septic bed. Soil tests were done by another engineer. His name is Vincent Iacampo. He's from Hackettstown. He couldn't finish the project, so I inherited it from him. Did the surveying on site and the design of the system. We have the engineer's review dated July 13th, which I'd like to go through. We will be needing several waivers from the ordinance criteria because of the size of the lot, the shape of the lot, and our limited access for putting a system on the site. Item number 1 in the report, which also relates to item 2, is that the witness report has mottling showing at 40 inches. And what I had in the reports that I received from the other engineer was 50 inches. So we'll modify the design to incorporate the 40-inch depth to the mottling, which will raise the system approximately 10 inches. Item number 3 deals with the fact that the property is adjacent to the Lamington River, and the flood maps indicate that it does flood. I spoke to the neighbor on Lot 3 who's lived there, I think, 60 years, and he said the only time that the area had any flooding was during a ice breakup in one of the, I guess it was a spring storm. It clogged up the bridge and the water actually came down in front of the house along the stone driveway.
Now, it flooded 1 July too during a heavy, I live in the area.
Okay.
It flooded in 1 July, it came up on the deli parking lot, and because we had to evacuate, I was in the fire company people from the island.
Yeah, so he said that the hurricanes really haven't been that big of a issue. So the area where the proposed bed is located, I don't believe would be in the flood area that was described to me. And secondly, this system's going to be elevated approximately 3 feet. So we'll need a waiver to permit the construction of the proposed system in that area. We don't have room for a reserved disposal area on site. As we go further to the northeast, we start going closer to the wetland area. I believe we'll also start getting more water over there because right behind the frame garage, it's very wet, even when everything else was bone dry. A waiver is required from the Township Code to permit the construction of septic tanks 73 feet from the water course, which is the Lamington River, rather than the 100-foot. The tanks are all going to be tested for water tightness in accordance with the new regulations, and there should be no infiltration or exfiltration from the tanks. So like the old tanks, I think that the setback waiver would be reasonable. Item 6, waiver is required from the code to permit the construction of the tanks within 10 feet of the building. 25 feet is required in the code. We could slide the tanks a little bit further to the southeast and a little closer to the system. That's not a problem. Getting 25 feet away is a problem. A waiver is required from the code to permit the disposal area when 25 feet from the building where 50 is required. I was trying to keep the system, I need to angle it a little bit because of slopes and the driveway. I was trying to keep it 15 feet off the adjoining property and keep it 25 feet from the house. So I have it tilted and kind of laid in there very tightly. So I think a waiver allowing the setback would be appropriate. Also a waiver to permit the construction of the disposal area 15 feet from the property line where 40 feet is required. Naturally, the state code says 10 feet. The other codes I've dealt with are 15 feet, and 40 is your code. So we'd like to have a waiver so that we can construct the system as shown. 9 is elimination of the vent. We don't have, I can take care of that. 10 is a detail that they'd like to see on a plan, which I will do. 11 is want some calculations about the flotation of the septic tanks to the groundwater. I'll do that also. Graphic scale will be added to the plan. And we do need to go to the state for both the wetland buffer transition and the flood zone. So any approval that you grant would be subject to the state approvals. It's a 3-bedroom dwelling, and it's going to stay a 3-bedroom dwelling with no additions.
No barn.
Hmm?
No barn.
Well, there is a garage, but it could come down by itself at any time.
Just to make you aware, when the septic system was built on Lot 3, which was probably within the last year or two,
I did notice it was looked relatively new.
there was an issue with the bridge and the weight limit on that bridge there.
Yes, I
That
understand.
they actually had to eventually, I know the owner in Lot 4, they actually had to dump on the Fairmont Road east side and cart over.
Yeah, we were wondering how they were going to actually do this, but yes. Mhm.
Bucket by bucket.
Yep.
I think that we can't take a fire truck across that bridge. And even the way it goes, it slopes down.
I don't like driving.
You don't drive across that bridge?
I do, but I said I don't like it.
Yeah, the only way you can get on the island, it's a private bridge.
Yeah.
It's narrow, it's a tight little turn off of Fairmont
Huh?
Road East.
I don't know
I
Fairmont
forgot to
Road
cross
East.
the over bucket by bucket.
Where you know where the general store and post office?
Yeah.
You look at across the river, those houses.
General
I never looked.
It's an island, it's actually part of Bedminster, even though you're in Tewksbury looking over.
You're over. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I had seen it quite a few times. I didn't really, you know, this was the first time I got to visit over there. It's very interesting.
So the house was already there and the septic is failing, it just needs to be.
Yes.
The owner passed away, the gentleman passed away, and it's a estate sale, I think is what it is, right?
Excuse me?
An estate sale is what,
Yes, it went up for sales. There's a prospective purchaser. When he had the septic system inspected, doesn't meet the state criteria that's current, and therefore needs to be upgraded.
So Lucy Dornfeld is the recipient of the property because...
No, she's actually one of the heirs.
She's one of the heirs.
Yeah, there's a son and a daughter.
there's a son, I think lives in Jersey somewhere, I think.
I think so.
The Hackettstown area.
It might have been why he hired the other engineer up in Hackettstown, because nothing was getting done, so the attorney for the state wanted to get something going. So yes, construction is going to be interesting.
Well, you don't have as far to take it across the bridge as they did to lot 3.
We had a lot of wheelbarrows.
I don't remember what kind of tanks they put in instead of a lot. It may have been 2 feet tanks and then run over 2 feet.
Yeah, maybe we can float them down the river.
Yeah.
Wait till it freezes, right in front.
When you said you were going to raise the system, has that been done? Is it on a drawing that exists, or?
We'll go by the witness report. That is 10 inches higher.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, we're going to raise the system up 10 inches.
But it's not on a drawing right now.
Oh, correct. No, you'll
Doesn't
get
exist.
revised drawings. Don't know.
Okay, it's the original drawing.
It's a minor adjustment.
Now, this 73 foot from the water course, is that a state code? Is there a state code on that?
For a septic tank, it's 50.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
All the setbacks provided on this plan meet the state code requirements. There's no basement.
There is actually a basement. It's not a full basement. You could hit your head very easily on it.
Item 3 is a general statement. The whole island really is subject to flooding. It's
there's just no
just a blanket statement. That's what it is.
There's no choice.
I've seen water over the entire place. Not lately, but
I think the disposal area is safely out of the floodway.
But we have a lot of septic systems in Bedminster.
Huh?
Bumping up to flood zone, up to the rivers and, branches of the rivers, and a big flooding storm, a lot will be breached.
well, they do, they may not last, but you can get a good foot of water covering the entire.
If you notice along Black River Road, they're all right up against.
Yep.
That's what I mean, and we've done so many of them right along the river, and
That's
one
why they're
good
not-
flooding, they're all breached.
And it floods down here by the pony farm, down where the bridge is.
Item number 8, 15 feet from the property line. Would you describe the property line, please?
The property line is the southeasterly line of Lot 6, adjacent to Lot 7. There's a fence, an old, I think a post and rail fence running along that property line. Some landscaping in that area, mostly on the Lot 7 side.
Where's the other septic?
Where is the septic
That's
located?
Steve's old property.
I really, I don't have any information on that. I'm afraid that, it appears to me that it would be to the southeast of the house on Lot 7, and further
big,
away from
right?
our
Lot
septic
6.
system than.
Never got built on.
Huh?
Lot 6 is...
That goes up the, that
Right,
goes up, that goes
never got
up,
built on now.
well, that goes up the road, that goes up the
Right.
hill to Hacklebarney.
Right.
You couldn't build on it.
No.
So there's actually, I think, a stream that runs back behind the property.
So it's 15
There's a bit
feet,
that runs behind the barn garage area.
And that can flow in heavy rain.
Comes back up.
Yeah. Well, not back up, but I've seen it water in it, a lot of, it's dry.
That's where he says it's wet right now.
Oh, that's why they call it the island. It is really an island.
Do you live on the island, Barney?
No, but I know where it is. About a half mile from my house.
Oh, geez, you're close.
item 8, would you cover that again? Which lot abuts to, well, I can see it right on the drawing.
Lot 7 and Lot 6 is where the corner of the property line between them is where the septic
Right,
system.
I can see that now. Okay.
You don't know where the septic is on 7, right?
No, we could look into that.
I know that was sold recently, so there should
Lot
be.
7?
Lot 7, yeah, it transferred probably within the last year.
Okay.
And as far as I know, they didn't have to do a septic repair or anything on that. I don't recall coming anything that was grouped.
Joe, what's the distances between fields from one lot to the other?
50 feet.
But we don't know where the Lot 7 system is, do we?
No.
There should be something on the survey, like I said, it was sold within the last year.
I can check with the owners of 7.
Block, I don't know.
Block 1.
I'd say it would be, that is something we need to get an answer to. It's just, if it's 15 feet from the property line, and we know nothing about Lot 7 and where their system is, it would be our responsibility to ask and find out.
It's got to be at least 35 foot from that line then, to be within the 50 foot minimum.
I have no idea.
Here, we'll see, that's the old one. That's the old one. It's to the island.
Tim, to expedite this, can we do some waivers and hold some out, or do we need to do the whole thing? Because I would want an answer to 8. It's only fair.
Where the septic system is located on Lot 7.
If it's within 50 feet of the disposal area as designed, an additional waiver would be required from the board.
Then we could come back?
Then you would have to come back.
No, not a problem.
So can we approve
Okay.
it pending the fact that?
Well, as long as it's...
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, then we can get by that. Okay. Good thinking.
Location calculations are okay.
We'll start working through this. Marie?
Why not?
Brain's a little fried, right? That's it.
Okay. So we're gonna raise the bed by 4 inches,
10 inches.
10 inches. So 1 and 2 are covered. We agreed to that?
Yep.
We agreed to that. Number 3. We know it floods, we have no control over that, so I guess we need to go along with a waiver. It needs a septic system, so a waiver for the proposed system in a flood zone.
Do we have to
So
put in
that's,
a resolution we know it's flooded, or how is that worded?
As any other waiver the board grants, it's a state code requirement. Just for new construction would not be permitted.
Right.
To bring the system closer to performance than currently exists, so you're authorized to grant that waiver.
Okay.
okay, Trina, here we go again. Yeah, need a motion for a waiver to build it on a flood surface
Conform,
flooding.
yeah.
Do I hear that motion?
Second.
Ms. Gaddis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Brockman?
Yes.
Okay, number 4, waiver for the disposal area, reserve area. There's no room for it, so, motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Gaddis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Brockman?
Yes.
Okay, number 5 would be the township code, construction of the septic tanks, 73 feet instead of 100 feet. I don't see anything else we can do looking at the drawings.
Within the state.
Right, it's in the, within the state regs. Motion to allow that.
Let that side.
Second.
Ms. Gaddis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Brockman?
Yes.
Again, it's a tight squeeze. Number 6, a waiver.
If you moved it, what would be the maximum you could
This is lot 4.
get? If, you know,
Another 2 or 3 feet, I mean, it's kind
oh,
of,
okay. It's not,
Not a whole lot.
If you scroll through the pictures, that's pictures on the island, you can see lot 4.
Wow.
There, because it's for sale, but I don't see lot 7, if you see where the 7.
well, you, it was 7.
You're amazing.
How can you see
That's,
it?
well, that's lot
No,
4.
so
No,
that's
you're
lot
looking,
4. No, no, it's because it's this way, I don't know, but this pulls it up.
that's lot 4.
Yeah, and that's
That's
other
what-
views, I guess views of the other lots.
It's that way. You can-
Yeah.
You said you can only move it about another 2 or 3 foot anyway, so I'm not, I
Yeah.
can't.
Oh, okay. 10 foot instead of 25. Item 6, need a waiver.
So,
Second.
Ms. Gaddis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
us, yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Brockman?
Yeah.
Okay, number 7, disposal area 25 feet from the building where 50 is required by the ordinance. What's the state requirement, Joe?
Disposal area,
25.
25.
Okay, so it's at the state distance. Motion for the waiver.
So moved.
Second. Ms. Gaddis?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Brockman?
Yeah.
Okay, number 8. That is the one that we're going to, Tim, you tell us what 8
What
is.
you're going to do is you'll grant the waiver conditioned upon verification that the septic system on lot 7 is
50 foot.
greater than 50 feet from the location.
50
of
foot
the
or greater?
proposed- What's that?
I guess it's 50 foot or greater, right?
50 foot or more, right,
Sure.
not less than 50
Okay.
feet from the location, the
Okay.
proposed location.
That's a key part of the resolution.
And then, what, then he, if not, must come back for approval, or what? How-
Well, that's probably what you would do, and if you come back, I would think that you'd have to notify
Okay.
the owner of lot 7.
Well, that's right, you just don't, because you don't approve the resolution.
Right, I think probably what they'd have to do is come back and make sure that you'd have to hear from the owner of lot 7 too, as to whether they'd be willing to go on anything.
I'm not even sure that's a requirement, because...
It's probably not.
Probably not, I don't believe it is, but he would still have to come back and request the waiver. So,
Okay.
in the worst case scenario, let's hope.
What's something we're looking
The only reason
at?
why I would think that it might be is it then places their septic system outside of conformance, because now their septic system is also located within
Yeah, I'll check with Paul.
50 feet.
I'll check with Paul.
So if they ever need to modify it or anything else, they have a septic system now located less than 50 feet from the neighboring septic system. It's probably not required.
We'll
What
verify.
the heck?
Yep. 9 is okay, 10 is okay, 11 is okay, with the engineer. 12 is okay, and 13 you will do. So, we're down to a motion to approve the application.
That last waiver.
No.
Number 8.
That one on the,
That's right.
Oh, we didn't get to vote on it?
No.
we didn't make a,
Gee, we forgot to do that.
As a condition.
I make a
Okay.
motion as such.
Well, Tim made the motion, that's
Oh,
why.
Tim made the-
Yeah.
Use Tim's phraseology, please.
I move that item 8.
Whatever Tim said.
Second.
Ms. Agatha?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Curtis?
Yes.
Now we have to approve the whole application.
Yep. Motion to approve the application is formulated.
To approve the whole application.
Mr. Peterson.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Agatha? Yes. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And Ms. Curtis? Yes.
We made it.
Thank you.
Not yet.
Now we gotta get this like Phil over there.
We're usually out of here by 8:30.
I'm not late here. Good night.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm the bad luck charm.
Do you need a note for your wife or something?
Yeah.
He really was.
I know, for 4 hours.
Okay, we have no resolutions. Are the minutes, I was not here, so I'll need
Yeah,
a
I read
motion.
through them and they're to my recollection. They're correct.
Okay, good. Second?
Second. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye. I can't vote.
You abstain.
I abstain.
Reports.
Reports? Doctor?
David Royal application, he submitted May and June, and he told me there are no other issues.
Yeah.
We can wait. And what I can report is that there is an NJ Kids Count report which came out this week, and it ranks counties statewide, how we fare as far as raising kids is concerned. And Smith County, again, came third. Morris County is number 1. What's holding us back is apparently very dismal lead testing rates. I looked at the statistics, and way back to 2010, up to current, we are anywhere between 11 and 13.5% testing of kids under 6 years of age. There is a state law which requires that every child should be tested at 12 months and 24 months, and at least once they missed out before they reach age 36. So that's a serious concern. We're going to reach out to healthcare providers.
Yeah, that's a shame because that's
Yeah.
recommendations in the American Academy of Pediatrics. We do it all the time at the 1-year-old checkup and the 2-year-old checkup. And then after that, every kid with developmental delay needs thyroids and a lead test. And so there should be, any kid with a learning disability, anything, thyroids and a lead test, it's like, should be automatic. I wonder if it's, I don't know how the parameters are measured, but sometimes doctors will give the parents the prescription and tell them to go to the lab, and the parents never go to the lab. So, like, we draw blood in my office, so you don't leave until we have your blood. So I don't know if that's how they're measuring, like, the tests that are actually run by LabConquest, or the doctors reporting who they ran it on.
Yeah. There is a state database, any lead testing done must be.
Okay, so they actually have to go for the test. So I think nowadays,
part of the problem is that people don't go, people don't do what they're supposed to do. Like the doctors might give them the prescription and then they never do it, as opposed to the doctors doing it themselves. I don't know.
Sure, and, you know, I know that in the county there is that perception that is low risk, but that may not be necessarily the case because there are so many cases.
Right.
So,
In this county too, there's more risk because kids eat dirt.
Yeah.
You know, they don't wash their hands and they eat dirt, and the dirt gets in the dirt,
you
so.
know, water contamination
Yeah.
at schools and so forth, so we're gonna,
And Irish oatmeal, you know, there's always something.
toys and,
Yeah.
You know, for immigrants.
Irish oatmeal?
Irish oatmeal
Spices
have lead.
and so
Oh,
forth.
gosh.
The cans Irish oatmeal have lead, like 2 years ago. Really? Everybody's eating that every day, we have lead levels on everybody.
And Mexican
Oh, boy.
beans and, you know, they are contaminated sometimes with
Yeah.
lead to increase the weight.
Make this can a little heavier.
Yeah, this is a food recall we get here. I wouldn't eat anything with a food recall.
So, Dr. I'll be reaching out to you to see how we can work with the WAD and the chapter.
Perfect. And send, yeah, because I'm on the executive committee
Yes.
for the New Jersey AAP. And also send us the brochures for the, whatever, the readiness preparation for September, right? September's preparation month.
Yes, you will.
Tell Dave to review this cider mill or whatever.
And bring samples.
It's interesting because yesterday I was in the supermarket, I was looking for apple cider vinegar. And most of the employees I was asking for, you know, guidance, but okay, they couldn't assist us.
It's regular, it's with all the regular vinegar.
And with the olive oil.
Yes, they know it should be organic, this stuff.
No.
That's where I found it. actually.
Regular vinegar aisle.
Yeah.
All righty.
Thank you for sitting through the whole meeting. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for staying with us there.
Yeah, thank you.
Joe, I have one question. When they brought up about the master plan thing and the septic thing, what about this thing, you know, this, you know,
That's going to be handled through the wastewater management planning process. So I'm actually going to talk to Paul about what he may suggest, because he's involved with master planning.
oh, so then we wouldn't get involved?
I'll see what he suggests. And,
Okay.
I'll find out. I don't want the board to duplicate an effort that the county might be, you know, working on already.
All righty. Moving right on,
Grease traps?
old business, nothing significant, correspondence, nothing significance of significance. Any other?
No other business.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank
Hey, you don't like the group you're with here?
Oh,
We've been here a while.
this was a killer meeting.
There's a record of this.
Ah.
This is the longest one I've
This is the longest one I've ever been at. Of all the nights I needed to go home early.